Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is part 1 of our story. If you like this what if story and want to see part 2, let me know in the comments below. Before we start, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video with your friends. Also, check the description for more great content and my playlist. This story was posted by Darkest Decade 97 on Wattpad. Now let's start. Chapter 1. The Beginning Slam. The front door of an apartment was shut with a loud noise. A young boy named Izuku Midoriya marched over to his room, ignoring the calls from his mother in the kitchen. He didn't stop until he reached his room, where he put down his bag and expressed his frustration by kicking the floor, sending a bit of dust into the air. Izuku, I'm not useless. I can be better. Why can't they see it? Just because I'm quirkless doesn't mean I can't do anything. He rushed over to his desk where his computer was. Izuku was quirkless, a term used to describe someone born without any superpowers. He faced discrimination at school from both teachers and classmates. It was common for quirkless individuals, regardless of age, to experience such treatment. They were often seen as weak or worthless in a society that valued superpowers, leading to feelings of isolation and despair. Many quirkless individuals struggled with their place in the world, and Izuku felt the weight of that struggle. Izuku, I hope they're online. I need someone to talk to after what happened. The computer screen opened up to a forum named Quirkless Unite, a space Izuku created for quirkless individuals in Japan to support one another against the injustices they faced. The forum had grown to include hundreds of thousands of members from around the globe, providing a sense of community and hope. All Might number 1. Hey, is anyone online? I want to talk about what happened in school again. That was Izuku's username on the forum. His main group quickly replied. It's a shockwave, we're here. Don't tell me any problems with girls again. If so, let me know and I'll jump in. Barricading 𝐒𝐮𝐦𝐸𝐸𝐿. Seriously. Again with this. I took time off from my break for this. It's a shockwave, yes. This thunderous cracking. Enough. We're here for our usual rants against discrimination, and Bossman has something to share. The sky's warping, would it kill to get rid of the username? All Might number 1. No. The sky's warping, fine. But what do you have for us? All Might number 1. You know, the usual. But what made me angry the most is them laughing at my intelligence. It's a shockwave, explain. Izuku hesitated, thinking about mentioning a classmate who often bullied him. Instead, he decided to refer to him as my bully. This realization stirred emotions within him as he clenched his fists. He was reminded that the childhood friend he once knew was gone, replaced by someone who treated him poorly. Reflect this one, anyone there. If you can't type for now, take your time. Reflect this too, yeah. Izuku took a deep breath, knowing that acknowledging the bullying was a step forward. He typed the word bully, feeling it was a start. All Might number 1. My bully noticed sketches of my inventions. You all know I'm a hero fanatic, but I also like to invent things or sketch them out since my father said I have high intelligence for someone my age. It's an onslaught, and are you sure it isn't a quirk? Shooter. Or he's just that smart like it's a shockwave. It's a shockwave. Demon right, and my girlfriend can prove it. Crusher off bones, no one cares. I'm breaking down. Yeah. Don't insult us single boys or men. I don't know how old any of you guys are. A brawling family, all we know is barricade is old. Barricading 𝐒𝐮𝐸𝐸𝐿. I'm in my early 20s and don't go crawling to me for help when you find out my job. Brawling family, whatever. All Might number 1. Anyways, getting back to my point. Like you always told me, just ignore it. It didn't go well as my bully doesn't like to be ignored, and he destroyed my sketches. A blackout, and the teachers don't do anything. Just like what they do to us. Grinding me gears, tell me about it. Going sideways, did you at least save your sketches or had backups? All Might number 1. I do. I drew it during lunch and drew it in class to make it look presentable. I can do it at home, but it takes a lot of time. Ramp this jet. This is really what frustrates me. We can't do anything noteworthy without someone thinking we're useless. I'm tired of it. Swindle knows windling. We all are. All Might number 1. We just have to hang in there a little longer. Maybe someday we'll get our chance and prove to the world we are something. It's an onslaught. Wishful thinking is what I see. Stormoff Novus, hey guys. What did I miss? It's a shockwave. Why is the girl here? It's an onslaught. No, not this again. Shut up. It's too early in the afternoon for this. Hey minors. Izuku lets out a laugh, seeing his online friends stirring up a fuss in the forums. He's used to this, but their conversation was interrupted when a knock erupts from his door. Izuku wonders who it is, probably his mother asking if he wants something to eat, but to Izuku's surprise, the one who entered the room is his father. In Japan he usually goes by the name Izuku Midoriya, but outside of Japan he goes by the name Jack Midoriya. Jack is described as a half-American and half-Japanese man with long black hair brushed over to his left side and light blue eyes. He is wearing a suit without the blazer and the buttons are unbuttoned by the collar with the sleeves rolled up. Izuku, Dad, is there something you need? Jack, not much. Just came to see what my son is doing, he says as Jack leans over on Izuku's desk and glances at his computer, seeing his son is on the forum he created. Jack couldn't help but let out a smile. Jack, talking to your friends? Izuku, yup. Jack, I can see they help you a lot with your struggles being quirkless. Wish I got the same treatment back when I was your age. Your mother was lucky she found people that cared for her despite her being quirkless. Can't say the same for her son Bakugo though. Izuku didn't need to ask who this son his father is referring to is. Jack, trouble in school from what I'm seeing here, he says, pointing at the chats Izuku's friends have been saying. From what Jack can see, it's another talk about their friends being treated unfairly again, and Jack won't be surprised if his son faced it earlier, given the look he had. Izuku, Jack, don't lie. I can tell when you're lying. He heard a sigh coming from his son as Izuku spoke. Izuku, you know the usual. But Bakugo is insistent when it comes to my inventions and intelligence being completely useless. And this was met with Jack scoffing. He should have dealt with Bakugo a long time ago to ensure his son won't be hurt. Let's not forget about Aldra Junior High. He wanted to transfer Izuku out of there when he saw how they treated him, but the negative feelings towards the Quirkless are growing in Japan as the days go by, and at times, many faculty quote-unquote, don't want their kind walking their premises. Jack and Inko were Quirkless all their life and this kind of hate did not exist when they were kids. How did it get so bad? Jack, that explosion boy doesn't realize you need inventors to create the support gear he'll wear in the future. If he even dares insult people's intelligence and say it's useless and quirks are all that are needed, I'm betting no support company is willing to work with him, especially with his attitude. Izuku, still hurts that they don't see what I can do despite being quirkless. Jack, who cares about them? It's like what I always told you. Don't listen to them. Those words won't matter, what matters is proving them wrong and it's going to be a long journey. One I know you're ready for. He pats his son on his shoulders as Izuku looks to his dad with a smile. Izuku, thanks, Dad. His father smiled back, but chat with Izuku. The more the merrier. He smiles and leads the two inside, with Izuku and Melissa chatting happily, glad to finally meet after talking in the forum for so long. Jack leads them into the facility, passing through the lobby. He gives Izuku an access card he had ready in case Izuku needed to enter the facility someday, and that day is today. As they walk, Izuku looks around the halls, noticing numerous workers and scientists, even security guards. Melissa tells him that everyone who works here is quirkless, and that puts a smile on Izuku's face, knowing that quirkless individuals can achieve great things without being mocked or insulted. He remembers how his parents were often called that despite their status in Island. They continue walking as Jack leads them to a set of metal doors that, in Izuku's eyes, look like they belong to a top-secret facility. There, they are met with a man talking to a soldier. Izuku recognizes the soldier by their uniform. The man has short hair cut on the sides, wears a beret with a similar symbol, black military overalls, a bulletproof vest, and military boots. His name is Seymour Rutherford Simmons. When Simmons sees Jack, he stops what he is doing and hands a folder to the soldier before turning his attention to them. Simmons, about time you showed up. And it seems you have Melissa with you. No surprise there, Jack. He pauses and looks over behind Jack to see Izuku. Simmons, I take it this is your son. The one you love talking about. Jack, and he's here to know the truth about what we've been working on for the past decades. Oh, and don't worry, Simmons. The higher-ups gave me approval for this. They see potential in my son and know what he can bring to the table. Might as well put those relics to good use. Simmons, you have a point there, Jack. He couldn't disagree with Jack. He had heard about Izuku's intelligence from Jack and was curious how it would fit into their facility. Simmons walks over to Izuku, places a hand on his shoulder, and points to the metal doors. Simmons, now, kid. What you're about to see through those doors is totally classified. He nods to Jack as Jack inputs his access card and a key into the control panel. The panel lights up green as the metal doors make a hissing sound before opening, revealing an elevator. Simmons gestures for them to step inside. Once they are in, the doors slowly close. Jack makes Izuku look behind him, gesturing that the backside will later turn into windows and show the underground of the facility. The elevator descends underground. Simmons, to give you a summary of what we are, Izuku. We are called Sector 7 or S7, a secret world government agency run by the Quirkless. Some of the government officials who created S7 don't want any pro-heroes or villains making a mess of things. Our job is to deal with extraterrestrial technology or threats. We have existed for quite some time, even before Quirks came to be, and the organization has grown ever since. As Simmons finishes his explanation, Izuku takes in what he has heard and focuses on two things. Izuku, wait, when you say extraterrestrial, you don't mean, Melissa, aliens, aliens. They exist and have been around for decades. The agencies covering this up are good at their job. I knew about this because my father showed me a year ago. I only joined this group recently, like you. Izuku's response is a look of awe on his face. Just then he sees the windows as the elevator descends and witnesses a hangar bay filled with alien technology. He knows it is alien since it doesn't look like anything built on this world. He moves closer to the window, continuing to express his amazement. Meanwhile, Simmons whispers to Jack. Simmons, told you he'd have the same reaction as everyone else. It never gets old. Izuku, wait. When you said, Quirkless, do you really mean not a single pro-hero knows about this? Simmons, nope. Wouldn't want someone like the Hero Commission getting their hands on this. Just then, the doors of the elevator open, and the group is met with a hallway. Simmons leads them toward the main part of the tour, the R&D labs. Both Jack and Simmons know that Izuku will love to see this. It takes a while to reach that part of the facility, but it's worth it in the end as Simmons inputs the access code and opens the doors to the R&D lab. Izuku is very surprised to see the R&D labs, particularly by how large the facility is underground. The labs are filled with sections containing alien technology being repurposed to create their own technology, each area labeled with a number on a tower beside it. As Izuku walks around, following Simmons and the others, he notices cargo containers beside numerous tables, where scientists and engineers are offloading alien technology. Cases fill the facility, and Izuku knows they are filled with alien tech as well. However, he notices areas in the far back filled with equipment, which piques his curiosity since that area is cordoned off from the rest. He decides to ask about it when they get there. Simmons, what you see in front of you is decades of work in keeping this technology from falling into the wrong hands. Thanks to advancements in technology, it's become easier to repurpose these machines without causing chaos. Izuku, and do you use this technology for the pro-heroes? Like their support items? Check. This tech will be used as a means to repel an alien invasion if it comes down to it. It has happened a couple of times before the dawn of Quirks, and Sector 7 is preparing for that inevitable day. Simmons, not only that, we have other ways to use this technology for the hero versus villain scenarios everyone enjoys now, and it's what you saw over there. He points to an area that Izuku was curious about earlier. Jack, and it is something I have been working on for years. He looks at Izuku with a smile as Simmons and Jack lead them there. Once they arrive, Izuku observes the area of the facility, which is covered by a wall and tinted windows, ensuring no one can see inside. The number of soldiers present is notable. Simmons speaks with the soldiers, mainly about Izuku and Melissa's clearance before they are allowed in. When they enter, Izuku and Melissa are met with a surprise. In front of them are towering mechanical beings, either being repaired or repurposed, while dozens of scientists and engineers work around the clock tinkering with them. Jack ushers Izuku ahead and points to a specific one. Izuku rushes forward to where his father wants him to go and is met with an impressive sight. In front of him stands a tall, regal mech finished in deep violet with crisp gold edging. Broad, upturned shoulder plates frame a boxy chest and a narrow, ribbed abdomen. The head carries a small crown motif and a blue visor that gives it a commanding appearance. Heavy charcoal boots, layered shin guards, and gold knee hubs add weight to the lower body. In its right hand, it grips a long trident with 3 sharp tines, while the left forearm carries a cannon. Izuku, what is this? What are they? Jack. Cybertronians, autonomous robotic organisms from the planet Cybertron. The technology you see outside belongs to them. Izuku nods but notices Melissa looking in awe at the Cybertronian bodies in front of her. He thought she knew about this place, but given she needed clearance, it proved otherwise. Izuku, so, you didn't know? Melissa, I only heard about it from my father since he worked on one project before my idea came to his mind. Jack thought about it for a few seconds and decided to give it a shot. Maybe something good would come out of it. Jack, son, why don't you join me in Island? There's something I wish to show you, and it will help you greatly. This made Izuku really interested, and he wondered how it would benefit him. Izuku, what is it? He looked to his father, who said nothing but gave his son a smirk. Island, an artificial moving island created for scientists to peacefully research together. Thousands of scientists and their families inhabit the island's main cities. Scientists primarily research the Quirk phenomenon and develop tools to support pro-heroes. But in another part of the island, which takes up half of the island itself, is a safe haven for the Quirkless. This was established due to growing discrimination and isolation of the Quirkless, so the Quirkless high-class families who own or manage the island provided a home for them. However, this information is kept hidden from the public to avoid stirring problems. The Midoriya father and son arrived at one of the Quirkless cities of Island, as Jack took Izuku to a location in the city. Jack didn't say much, but mentioned it was a surprise, one Izuku would definitely like. As for Izuku himself, he looked around the city. His father said all the citizens here are Quirkless and can live their lives peacefully without facing discrimination. This is actually what Jack and Inko helped fight for, as they are one of the leading families of Island when it comes to gaining connections and resources around the world. They live in a small apartment in Japan because they didn't want to attract unwanted attention from those who favor quirks. Izuku Island, the safe haven for the Quirkless. Have any incidents happened here compared to Japan? We made sure no incidents occur here, and this isn't Japan where they turn a blind eye. Some of the other countries aren't like what we experienced back home. So it's calm, but the discrimination is still present, more like giving us pitying looks for not having gifts. He let out a scowl, remembering how annoying that was. Jack, and it annoys me greatly when I see those expressions. Izuku thought to himself, you're not the only one. They continued walking to a large facility, and Izuku took note of the logo as they walked past it. He didn't understand what the logo meant, but had a faint idea that the S and the 7 signified something. As they were about to head inside the lobby of the facility, Jack headed over to the park section in front of the facility, where a fountain with what appeared to be a statue of a planet was present. It looked unusual to Izuku. As they approached the fountain, Jack noticed a woman sitting on a bench using her laptop. The woman was a pale-skinned young woman of slightly above average height with a round face. She had wavy blonde hair that reached halfway down her back, with 2 shorter pieces over her shoulders and side-swept bangs framing her face. Her aqua-blue eyes had notable upper eyelashes, with some slightly longer ones extending on each side. She wore a white short-sleeved dress shirt with plaid cuffs, a large bow of the same design at her neck, and a dark raspberry pink waistcoat. Accompanying these were pale gray capri breathes, plaid pink socks, and heeled brown boots. She also wore a wristwatch and pink oval-framed glasses. The woman continued typing on her laptop and stopped when she heard footsteps nearby. She set her laptop aside, looking to the source of the footsteps, and was surprised to see who it was. Mr. Midoriya. I'm surprised to see you here. Are you here to see my father? I have business here in the facility, and I brought my son here to see it for the first time. Almost forgot. He went over to Izuku, placing a hand on his son's shoulder, and introduced him to the woman. Jack, Izuku, I want you to meet Melissa Shield. Her father and I are good friends, so I believe you can use this as an opportunity to finally meet one another. Izuku nods at what his father said and approaches Melissa, offering her a handshake. Izuku, it's nice to meet you, Shield. Melissa, the same goes for you, Izuku. Jack, in America, they tend to call you by your first name. I advise you to do the same. Izuku nods, and both of them smile at each other. However, Izuku notices in the corner of his eye what Melissa is doing on her laptop. He realizes she is on a website, and what catches his attention is that it's the forum for the Quirkless. Melissa She looks over to Izuku as he lets go of her hand and moves closer to her laptop. She assumes he's new to the Quirkless forum and hasn't seen it before. Melissa, if you're wondering what that is, that's the Quirkless forum called Quirkless Unite. It's where people like us can, Izuku, what? His exclamation startles both Jack and Melissa as Izuku points at Melissa, looking confused. Izuku, explain yourself. Jack is unsure why Izuku reacted this way, while Melissa simply raises an eyebrow, unfazed by Izuku's outburst. Melissa, Aomi, did I do something wrong? Because I will see whatever it is you say as illogical since I only just met you. Hearing the word, illogical, catches Izuku's attention, as he has seen that word frequently in the forum, especially from a certain user. Izuku, you're 𝐒𝐮𝐦𝐸𝐵 Shockwave. When he exclaims this, Melissa stares at Izuku, processing the information and giggles. To her, it's clear that Izuku is a member of the forum. The question is, who is he there? Melissa, it seems we have met before, preferably on a computer screen. May I ask what your username is? Izuku, I'm the one who created the forum, All Might #1. I can't believe you're actually her. All of us thought 𝐒𝐮𝐸𝐵 Shockwave was a very different person, and we were planning to kick you out if you kept making those remarks, but ultimately decided not to. Not to mention your blonde friend. Wait a minute, so that blonde friend that 𝐒𝐮𝐸𝐵 Shockwave kept talking about was you. You were talking about yourself. He points another finger at Melissa, who smiles in return. Melissa, guilty as charged. Then Izuku remembers what he needs to do, as this information should be shared. Izuku, the forum. Wasting no time, Izuku takes out his phone, and Melissa does the same when she sees what he is doing. Both look at their screens as Melissa sees Izuku sending a message to the group. All Might #1, hey. I just learned 𝐒𝐮𝐸𝐵 Shockwave is actually a female and not a man. The girl he kept talking about is actually her. She was talking about herself. She fooled us. Brawland family, I'm sorry. What? What? A girl. Then what was the point of those remarks? Thrust in me, yeah, what the heck is going on? This thunderous cracking. 𝐒𝐮𝐸𝐵 Shockwave, get in this chat now. 𝐒𝐮𝐸𝐵 Shockwave. It's logical for an individual in an online community to have fun once in a while. I calculate my plan is 100% successful, given your reactions. Izuku turns to Melissa and sees her giggling as she types on her phone. He can tell she's enjoying this as the chat fills with surprised messages about her deception. Jack watches from the sidelines with a smile and coughs to get their attention, noting the time. Jack, I hate to break up this lovely conversation, but Izuku and Melissa, we have matters to attend to. Melissa, in that case, since you're heading to the facility, I might as well join you. I do have an access card, so it won't be a problem, she says, excited to. Mother passed away. I didn't think to see a Cybertronian up close. Simmons, technically, this isn't a Cybertronian anymore, more like what's left of it. I don't really know when, but after the Cybertronians left Earth following their war, the spoils of war scattered around Earth. Trust me, all of their tech has been lying around here for so long, it's collecting dust. So the higher-ups decided to put it to good use and repurpose the tech to create a means for those without quirks, like us, to be heroes. Izuku, no offense, but from what I'm seeing, we're using their parts to create an entirely new mechanism. Sounds a bit dark if you ask me. 𝐒𝐮𝐦𝐦𝐸𝐵, these things haven't been active in centuries. It's fine. Jack, and I recall one Cybertronian fused itself with a deactivated one. So if they ever return, they'll be fine with it. Izuku, but is this what you've been working on, Dad? Does Mom know? Jack, of course she does. She even visited this place a couple of times. Then a thought comes to his mind. Jack, and she was really interested in creating one herself, and the designs or ideas she gave were something. He knows his wife has a deep frustration with the discrimination faced by those without quirks, considering the challenges she overcame to get where she is now. It didn't matter, proving oneself in this society is difficult without a quirk. He felt a surge of anger when he thought about how others treated his wife. Izuku, but what did Mr. 𝐒𝐮𝐦𝐸𝐵 say about someone without a quirk being able to become a hero? Is that why I'm here? Jack, yes. And the same is said for Melissa over here. Izuku looked at Melissa with a curious expression as she laughed and answered his obvious question. She didn't need to hear him say it. It was logical to know what Izuku was going to ask. Melissa, yes. I always wanted to be a hero, but you know how it is. A quirkless person can't be a hero. It's best I don't consider becoming a pro-hero. It's funny because All Might is very close to my father, and I call him Uncle Might. People will think twice before insulting me if they see my relationship with All Might. Luckily, I didn't face much discrimination compared to others in our online group. When Melissa mentioned calling All Might Uncle Might, Izuku decided to ask her about that topic later to avoid embarrassing himself in front of everyone. Izuku, you don't know the half of it. Melissa, but I still have my hopes of becoming a hero, and maybe what we see here is mine. No, our first step into fulfilling our dream. Izuku, although, Dad, what can you tell me about this? Jack. To start off, we use that as a basis to create the suit, using its parts to build the body. He pointed to the Cybertronians that appeared to have a skeletal-like body structure. The color was a darker shade compared to the other designs Izuku had seen, mainly the one his father showcased. He noticed the parts were sharp and jagged, almost predatory in their formation, the plating overlapping like shards of blackened steel, with exposed joints and pistons that seemed more grown than engineered. Its limbs were long and angular, every edge looking as if it could cut through armor, the chest plates twisting in a way that mimicked ribs, a skeletal cage hiding mechanisms within, and its movements echoed like grinding metal and broken stone. What they were known as in Cybertronian terms was protoforms. Jack, those are called protoforms, by the way. Once we have the design ready, we work on building the body's frame and make sure its inner workings are set. It takes a couple of months to get it done, not a year, since we have the tech to speed things up and know what we're doing. Usually, each of these Cybertronian mechs, as we call them, stand around 13 to 15 feet tall, much taller than some heroes. 𝐒𝐮𝐸𝐵𝐵, and we outfitted it with the same weapons the Cybertronians use. Let me tell you, they pack a punch. The villains won't see what hit them. Melissa, I've seen a couple of them, Izuku. They're quite dangerous. He took note of that and asked another important question. Izuku, and the power source. Jack and 𝐒𝐮𝐸𝐵𝐵 smiled as 𝐒𝐮𝐸𝐵𝐵 walked over to a case placed on the floor. He lifted it up to the table, opening it to reveal what appeared to be a blue glowing cube. 𝐒𝐮𝐸𝐵𝐵, this here is what we call energon. It is the lifeblood of the Cybertronians, or how the databanks we have here in our base say. A fuel, the main substance, and a valued resource used by all Cybertronians for food, medicine, and for their own biology. It is the blood flowing inside and throughout their bodies, keeping them alive for billions of years, and now we can do the same for our technology here. Although we use it sparingly. Jack, even then, we have an infinite supply of it. The Cybertronians really left a lot of their tech here. 𝐒𝐮𝐸𝐵𝐵, which we've been putting to good use, and now, it's your turn, kid. He said to Izuku, who pondered the things he learned today, taking a glimpse at the Cybertronian mech in front of him. That kind of power could surely help him. He just needed to understand the inner workings of this masterpiece and see for himself if he could do the same as the rest. but his mind realized he had to get back home to finish his studies. All of this came abruptly, and he hadn't thought to come up with a future plan. Izuku, wait. What about school? Given what you're saying, it seems like you want me to stay in Island and not go back to Japan. What about, Jack? I know you still want to go to U, as it is your dream school. Your mother and I, mostly your mother since she has connections, were already given approval for you to attend a school here in Island that will finish up your years in middle school. The best part is it's near the facility. Once that's done, you can head back to Japan to take the entrance exam for you. How's that sound? Then another thought came to Jack's head. Jack, and I doubt those in Aldra will care if Izuku is gone. To them, he's just someone out of their hands. At least he doesn't have to deal with Katsuki. He'll do so once Izuku gets back. But he will be different. Way different. He turns his attention back to his son, observing Izuku thinking about his choice. Izuku weighs the pros and cons of this decision. The pros are obvious. 1. Izuku has a place he can call home, where he can be with his people and actually make a difference. 2. He can use his intelligence to create whatever he wants and will be provided the tools to do so. 3. He won't face discrimination or deal with people destroying his work or sketches. He can finally be at peace and work without problems. The cons mainly involve him leaving Japan and adjusting to his new life, possibly leaving Bakugo without even saying a word. Then again, is Bakugo really his friend? And do those in Aldra really care for him? As a matter of fact, does anyone at home care for him besides his online friends? No. That's what Izuku finally tells himself. That's what Izuku needs to tell himself. Izuku truly had no one when they found out he was Quirkless. He lost his childhood friend, manipulated and misled by those around him, who kept saying his quirk was amazing and the best they had seen. This led Bakugo to think he was invincible, unstoppable, a so-called god among men. Izuku questions how it will play out if Bakugo's quirk isn't as strong as what he has now. Will he be treated differently? But in Izuku's eyes, he doesn't care about it. He shouldn't care about it. Bakugo is gone. Bakugo won't even step foot here. Bakugo can live his days in peace until Izuku comes back to Japan for you. Until then, from what Izuku can see, he'll make the most of it and build the tools he needs to achieve his dream. A dream he won't let anyone take away from him. Izuku, when do I start? That was his answer. His response was met with smiles from Jack and Simmons, but Melissa, on the other hand, didn't want to be left out. Melissa, hey, don't count me out here, Izuku. I plan to do the same as you. So let's work together to achieve our dream. She says, getting close to Izuku with a smile, and Izuku smiles back, happy to have a friend on his side. Jack couldn't help but smile, seeing his son gaining true friends. Jack wondered if he could bring those in Izuku's forum community to Island, wondering how that would go. Jack, that's the spirit. You know, son, when I first saw my creation in all its glory, trust me, it was spectacular. All that hard work paid off. Izuku, then I hope to get the same reaction as you, Dad. Melissa, Izuku, do you mind heading over to my lab? It's not that far from the facility. I have lots of things to show you. Izuku, sure, and let's chat with the guys. I'm sure they'll be interested to know about us. Melissa, yup, and Izuku, no. He knows what she'll do in the forum. Melissa, Tisich. She and Izuku took off, but Izuku laughed at her reaction, which further irritated Melissa as they made their way out of the underground facility. All the while, Jack and Simmons watched, having their own conversation. Simmons, you know where this will go. Japan won't accept a quirkless hero, let alone a group of them. Their dreams will be halted, and worse, done by the people many look up to. Even the commission will put a stop to this. Jack, I know. I'm worried about how much Izuku can handle, seeing his kind, our kind, be discriminated against even further. Here, the laws will keep those who discriminate at bay, but in Japan, it's a different story. Izuku will face worse once he comes back and reveals himself as a quirkless trying to become a hero. Inko and I know one simple mistake can release all that anger within him. My worry is who will be the person to do it. He says, staring at his son as he disappears from sight. But Jack always took note of his eyes. You can hide your emotions, but your eyes always tell a different story. Jack. 𝐒𝐮𝐦𝐦𝐚𝐫𝐲, I know the look in his eyes. Izuku may hide it, but anyone with a keen mind can tell how much anger is boiling within him. Not only with what he endured, but also with what his friends had to deal with. One single event, one mistake, one fateful moment, can release it, and I'm not certain what will come of it. 𝐒𝐮𝐦𝐴𝐵𝐴, but are you still going to support your son? No matter what he becomes. He looks to Jack, seeing the man clench his fist while looking at it before turning back to 𝐒𝐮𝐻𝐻𝐵𝐴. Jack. You bet I will. 𝐒𝐮𝐻𝐻𝐵𝐴, but I fear what's to come. A conflict is brewing through the gaps of this corrupt system. With your son in charge, I worry his persuasion and charismatic tactics will attract followers to his side. It sounds like something you would have done back in the old days, Jack. Jack. That's more in line with 𝐒𝐮𝐴𝐵𝐴. Giving speeches and rallying followers was her forte. My intelligence and quick wits are what make me who I am. But you are right, a conflict will come, and we need to be ready for it. The Quirkless have suffered long enough, and it's time the world saw us as something more. The question is, how far are we willing to go to obtain that goal? Months later, Melissa, Izuku. I think I kind of went overboard with the design. Now, a month into Izuku's new home in 𝐻𝐻. His father and mother used their connections to build a lab for Izuku, and eventually, Melissa, to conduct their experiments, mainly building the Cybertronian mechs. Much like any other lab in 𝐻𝐻, it's quite a mess. Izuku took a while to settle in 𝐻𝐻, the obvious examples being his new home, which is much bigger than the apartment he had in Japan. Izuku never knew just how much influence both his father and mother have in 𝐻𝐻. Apparently, his mother is a significant executive in regards to 𝐻𝐻's best interests in the global market and a known lawyer. Inko became one since she had no quirk and had to prove to everyone just how useful she is in this unjust society. Then there came Izuku heading to school to finish up his middle school education. Izuku was surprised at first at how he faced no form of discrimination whatsoever. Then again, the school is comprised of quirkless students. Another point is Izuku taking in all the tools he was given to make his masterpiece. Regarding Izuku and Melissa's lab, it's quite large, bigger than the lab Melissa originally had. It's filled to the brim with equipment provided by Sector 7. It took a while to approve the request, but they got there. The lab is filled with tables housing numerous devices, equipment, and tech the two used to create their inventions, not to mention the machinery that Sector 7 provided. In the middle, surrounded by an enormous amount of screens on the computers or held by the machinery, are the Cybertronian mechs the two have been working on for the past couple of months. On Melissa's end, her Cybertronian mech is a stocky purple robot with forward-tilted shoulders. The head is a compact block with a single yellow eye set deep in the face. Thick shoulder housings carry silver panels and vented details, and cables route from the back into the torso like power lines. The forearms end in blaster muzzles, and the calves carry twin barrels near the ankles, while gray hips and thighs break up the otherwise dark color. Izuku, it's fine. In a way, it makes sense to have that much firepower, given the kind of quirks we will face in the foreseeable future. He says, sitting at his desk. Izuku looks at the computer, reviewing all the data they have related to their Cybertronian mechs, and on another computer, a full detailed report of the different kinds of quirks they have come across in the registry and its effects on the Cybertronian metal. Izuku, we lucked out with Sector 7 and its R&D department testing out the Cybertronian tech against all kinds of quirks. Turns out it can last long against numerous quirks until it gets damaged in cases where the user gets overwhelmed. Not to mention the firepower when it comes to our weapons. I'm surprised they were able to gain access to the quirk registry and give it to us, which in a sense, is questionable. But Sector 7 has authorization far higher than that of the Hero Commission. Melissa, plan on using all these tips and tricks when you head over to you? Izuku, isn't it obvious, Mel? Another point to note about the two is that both Izuku and Melissa have gotten very close since Izuku started his stay here, to the point they call each other nicknames. Melissa, it is. But your work has yet to be finished compared to what I have over here. She says, gesturing to her mech as Izuku sighs. Izuku is at a standstill when it comes to advancing the next phases of his mech. When he first started out, Izuku spent most of his time on the design phase, turning in multiple drafts to see what works and what doesn't. He even had access to Cybertronian technology from the start, making sure to study its inner workings and test the tech to ensure the suit is stable and won't have any problems when he uses it fully. He tested it while manning the suit himself, and it worked, with a few minor issues that were sorted out later on. By then, he reached the Mark VI version of the suit, but still faced one significant problem related to the Transformers. Izuku, thanks for stating the obvious, Mel. But here is the reason why I'm stuck. He brings out a device on the table, which is related to the Cybertronians, given its intricate design and the material used to make it. What Izuku placed on the table is a smaller version of the transformation cog, or T-cog. Melissa, yes. The T-cog, the means for a Cybertronian to transform into their vehicular form. I'm still surprised we were able to re-engineer it to fit the suits. The problem is, Izuku, how do we incorporate the transformation sequence without causing issues for the user? There was silence as Izuku thought, tapping on the desk with his finger and twirling his pen while browsing through many files regarding the technology and energy sources of the Cybertronians. He continued browsing while Melissa worked on another project related to the Cybertronian mech. Izuku came across a file that piqued his interest and decided to take a look. He focused and wrote down notes as he read the file, then shouted out, "Izuku, I got it." His shout made Melissa jump in surprise. "Melissa, please don't yell. You scared me. But what did you find?" "Izuku, a way to solve the T-cog problem." He moved the computer screen to show it to Melissa, who leaned in closer to see what Izuku had discovered. "Melissa, mass shifting." "Izuku, yup. I still don't understand how such a feat is possible, as the files say they are still trying to figure out how such a design functions scientifically. But what if we use the very thing that allows the Cybertronians to mass shift and implement it into our mechs?" "Melissa, what do you have in mind?" "Izuku, from what I can gather, the Cybertronians can somehow transform and shrink down to minuscule sizes, like a radio or a gun. I've even seen them pilot vehicles, which seems impossible from a certain perspective. And don't get me started on the combiners. We can implement it by having the parts of the suit combine to increase in size until it forms the vehicle of our choosing. To protect the user, it will bring them to the cockpit and shield them with a force field to ensure they don't get harmed. It will be a lot of trial and error to make this right, but I have faith in both of us," he said to Melissa, standing up with newfound confidence, ready to take on the challenge. "Izuku, get ready to make a breakthrough, Mo. I have the winning formula." Melissa, wrong universe, Izuku. Time passed, and Izuku was right. It took a lot of trial and error to get it right. Both of them spent around a month ensuring the transformation sequence was perfected. Now, it was their chance to see if all that hard work paid off. The worst part, from Inko's perspective if she were there, was that Izuku volunteered himself to be the test subject for the transformation sequence. Here, he stood in the middle of a platform in one of the hangar bays in the underground facility. The two had their own private area to avoid distractions. Izuku now wore the Mark VIII of his Cybertronian mech. It was a sleek armored mech, with armor mixing bone white and gunmetal, accented by small violet lights. A vivid red scarf wrapped around the neck and spilled over one pauldron, matched by a deep purple cape that trailed from the shoulders. Compact greaves, segmented thigh plates, and a confident stance gave it the vibe of a high-tech knight or caster. In the console located on the front of the platform, Melissa is typing on the keyboard, multiple screens showcasing the schematics of Izuku's Cybertronian mech, as well as vital signs, monitoring both Izuku and the mech. Melissa sees all systems are stable with the T-cog functioning properly and gives a nod to Izuku. "Melissa, you ready?" "Izuku, I am. I'm going plus ultra here, Mo. Let's see if it pays off." His voice comes through the speakers clearly as Izuku does a few stretches to get used to the suit and takes a deep breath. He knows that if this fails, it could be a big setback. "Izuku, here goes nothing." He closes his eyes and focuses. Simmons mentioned that Cybertronians concentrate their minds to transform into their vehicle mode. Izuku isn't sure if that's true, but he's willing to give it a try. As Izuku concentrates, Melissa looks over to the screen, her eyes widening in surprise. The scans detect that the 𝐒𝐮𝐽𝐽 is doing its work, albeit slowly. She turns her attention back to Izuku, watching as the parts around the Cybertronian body start to grow in size. Melissa, it's working. It's actually working. Izuku can feel the inner workings of the mech transforming him into his vehicle mode, and an idea forms in his mind. Melissa notices his enthusiasm and steps back to let him proceed. Izuku gets into a running stance, and the area in front of him is cleared out, thanks to Melissa. He sprints forward, and the parts around his body grow even larger, connecting together to form pieces of the vehicle. Then, Izuku jumps into the air, performing a front flip. As he does, the parts on his body start to appear and form into its vehicle mode. Izuku lands on the floor with a loud thud, and sparks fly as he completes the transformation. He laughs with success as their hard work pays off. He transformed. Izuku has transformed into a tank. The tank appears futuristic but reminiscent of military vehicles. It has a metallic gray color with some black parts, giving it a sleek appearance, and numerous LED panels light up purple, adding to its sci-fi design. Melissa, Izuku! She exclaims in excitement, rushing over to him with her datapad in hand, ready to take notes. Izuku, I know what you're going to ask, Mel. But everything feels stable. I don't see any problem moving the tank. His voice comes through the speaker in a normal tone while Izuku drives the tank forward effortlessly. Izuku, it feels like I'm controlling the tank with my mind instead of driving it like a regular vehicle. So I guess the 𝐒𝐮𝐽𝐽 really worked. Melissa, worked perfectly, I would say. Are the other systems in perfect condition? Izuku, they are, and its weapon systems. The barrel of the cannon slowly moves towards a targeting range they set up beforehand. Izuku uses the energon flowing within the mech's body and fires a shot. The shot hits the target, causing a loud noise. The results leave a noticeable mark on the wall, which many of the scientists, engineers, technicians, and guards notice but quickly ignore, accustomed to the duo's experiments. Melissa, guess we know the power is impressive. I'll write that down. She does so as Izuku transforms back into his mech mode, the parts shrinking down. He stumbles slightly but regains his balance. He looks at his hands, seeing a purple HUD in his point of view. Izuku clenches his fist, a faint metallic sound echoing with his movements. This is it. His path is finally set. Melissa? Izuku, is there something wrong? Izuku, no. It's just, after so much hard work the past couple of months, I never thought we'd actually do it. To achieve this. I thought it would take years, but I guess we went plus ultra. Melissa, that we did, Izuku. And with everything all sorted out, we can do so much more. Prove to them how wrong they truly are. That we can mean something in this unjust society. Izuku, indeed. Our path in becoming heroes has taken a step forward. But what Izuku and Melissa don't know is that the path they'll take will lead to greater obstacles that will change everything. Time skip, it's now night, and despite that, Island is still busy as ever. In their rooms, Izuku is seen reading the history of the Cybertronians, mostly the information given to them by said race. Izuku is fascinated by one Cybertronian, Megatron, who took the name of one of the 13 primes, Megatronus. Izuku reads about Megatron's aims on their home planet of Cybertron, how he wanted to change the system entirely. Then, it comes to the formation of the Decepticons, where what was once a search for change turned into chaos and destruction. One goal that came into their minds during their Great War was peace through tyranny. What was known as a goal to rid the caste system, a hierarchy that was corrupt, turned into a long-lasting war. Izuku clenches his fists, reading the accounts of how their war began. He can sympathize with the Cybertronians and what the Decepticons originally strived to achieve. He sees similarities in how the Quirkless are treated. His kind's feats overshadowed by those who have powerful quirks, leaving anyone who doesn't meet those standards brushed aside, forgotten without care. Cybertron's hierarchy is similar. Those who are weak are seen as inferior, while the strong are considered superior. There is no sense of equality present. However, a lingering thought drowns in Izuku's mind. A voice tells him that even if he has the means to be a quirkless hero, will his efforts be noticed? Will people start to respect him? is kind, that they can actually be on equal footing with others. Izuku knows in the back of his mind that such a feat seems impossible, and even if it is possible, many would block his path, preventing him from achieving it. The strong will never let the weak surpass them. It is as Bakugo always said to him, the Quirkless are nothing more than pebbles to their pedestals. The voice, once again, tells him one simple statement: equality for the Quirkless at any cost. His thoughts are interrupted when Izuku turns around, greeted by Melissa opening the door to his room and bringing in some refreshments. Izuku needs this to calm his mind. Melissa, I believe I came here just in time. Izuku, yup. You did. She nods and gives him a glass of juice. She knows he will stay up all night if she gives him coffee. But Izuku decides to strike up a conversation, using a different topic before heading to the real conversation. Izuku, reading through the databanks about Cybertron, I was surprised to see that many of the names regarding the Cybertronians are closely related to the usernames in our forum. Take you for example, there's a literal bot named Shockwave, and your username has Shockwave as well. Think we can call the guys that? Because I can't tell if this is a coincidence or not. Melissa, it's called plot convenience. Izuku, fair enough. Can't wait for the guys to hear about this if we ever have permission to tell them. There is a small bout of silence before Izuku sighs and tells Melissa what's on his mind. Izuku, Melissa, do you really think this can work? Melissa, pardon. Izuku, us being Quirkless heroes. You know the repercussions that will follow once we reveal ourselves. Melissa, I know, and I'm the same as you. I'm worried the commission will have our heads or that the board members won't allow us entry simply because we don't have a quirk. Even with our connections, those who believe in quirks will stop at nothing to remind us of our place. She says Quirkus with disdain. Izuku isn't pleased by the outcome either. Izuku, it sickens me to think many of our friends are still suffering. I want to help them. Bring them here and show them what we have created. Show them that they can be heroes. Make a difference for those who couldn't stand up for themselves. He clenched his fists in frustration. During his stay at I-Island, many of his friends in the forum had mentioned that discrimination was worsening in Japan, particularly from those with powerful quirks and those who followed the ideologies of Destro. Izuku made a mental note to look into who that was. A thought crossed Izuku's mind about a story he had read regarding Megatron. He saw many similarities in their situations. Megatron had vowed to challenge his planet's leadership and aimed for his people to be treated as equals. However, Izuku wanted to take a different approach. He planned to challenge Hero Society to demonstrate that the Quirkless could stand on equal footing with everyone else. Over the past few years, managing the forum and connecting with other Quirkless individuals had slowly built a following. However, Izuku worried that his intentions might be misinterpreted. Izuku thought, these ideas of mine might seem like I'm rallying an army. But it doesn't matter. If we Quirkless are to make a difference, our voices need to be heard. Heading to you is just the beginning. But what about my friends? If they join me, can we accelerate the process of being heard? Is everything all right, Izuku? Melissa asked, looking at him with concern. He sighed and shared his thoughts with her. To be honest, no, it's not. We both know we want to challenge Hero Society and prove our worth. I want to gather our friends to join this cause. But those who oppose us will likely see it as an army, Melissa interjected. I can already picture Quirkists organizing protests, demanding our removal as heroes. They might view us as liabilities. I even suspect that the top heroes would use their power and connections to seize our technology for themselves, and I won't let that happen. I know you won't either. We have a significant challenge ahead of us. The question is, how do we face it? Head on, Izuku replied firmly. We confront these challenges directly. I don't care who stands in our way, as long as we send a message. That's what matters. Our voices need to be heard, and we will make sure they are. Absolutely, Izuku. To be honest, I had almost given up on my dream of becoming a hero. But when you arrived and showed that you have the tools to actually become one, you reignited a spark in me. You gave me the push I needed to pursue my dream, despite the risks. I know we will face it together, and that's why I will support you to the very end. I promise, Izuku. She smiled, and Izuku returned the gesture, feeling grateful for her support. That's good to hear, he said. Anyway, I think we've talked enough for tonight. I should get some rest to start fresh in the morning. We can finally begin that project now that the 𝐒𝐮𝐦𝐦𝐚𝐫𝐲 problem is solved. You know, the matches for our forum friends. Izuku felt a surge of excitement at her words. He wondered how his friends would react to what they were creating for them. Looking forward to it, Mel? After Melissa left his room, Izuku turned back to his desk, contemplating his notes about his projects and his plans for the future as a hero. He glanced at a stack of folders containing information about Cybertronians. Picking up the file about Megatron, he pondered whether the Quirkless might walk a similar path. He reminded himself that he would never choose a path of destruction. He was determined to find a way to give a voice to the Quirkless without resorting to violence. Yet, he couldn't ignore the reality that, given the current state of hero society, sometimes violence seemed like an option. Izuku remained silent, staring at his phone, which displayed the group chat from the forum. His peers were always there to listen whenever he faced discrimination, and he did the same for them. He had gathered the support he needed to stand up against injustice, as they had endured it long enough. It was time to fight back. Izuku intended to use his voice and title to be seen as worthy, without leading to violence. All Might No. 1 changed the group name, Quirkless Anonymous, to Decepticons. The question is, how long will it last before they have had enough? Then, Izuku decided to change his username. To him, it was more fitting to have it as a direct inspiration of what he would become in the future. He needed to change, and he promised he wouldn't become someone who would let others down. A leader who would inspire others and rise up against the challenges they faced, so that they could achieve an equal world. All Might No. 1 changed his username to Megatronus. And so begins Izuku's journey as a hero. But what kind of path will he walk on going forward? Only time will tell. Chapter 2. A new perspective. Izuku thought to himself, to think a year has already passed and I'm back here. He was now back in Japan to prepare for the entrance exam of 𝐒𝐮𝐦𝐬𝐴. The Midoriyas no longer lived in that small apartment Izuku grew up in. They now resided in a more spacious home on the outskirts of the city. This change was for obvious reasons, including Izuku's lab and the longing to avoid any unwanted attention or negativity from others. Izuku walked through the bustling streets of the city, feeling the weight of the world on his shoulders. He often heard whispers and felt the stares of others, reminding him that he was different. Despite his determination to become a hero, he faced challenges that seemed insurmountable. One day, as he approached a convenience store, he hesitated. He had been turned away before, simply because he didn't have a quirk. The sign on the door seemed to mock him, a reminder of the barriers he faced. But Izuku refused to let that stop him. He took a deep breath and decided to try again. As he entered the store, he was met with a mix of surprised and judgmental looks. He felt a knot in his stomach, but he pushed through, reminding himself of his dreams. He needed supplies for his training, and he wouldn't let anyone's prejudice hold him back. With determination in his heart, Izuku gathered what he needed and approached the counter. The cashier raised an eyebrow but scanned his items without a word. As he left the store, Izuku felt a sense of accomplishment. Each small victory was a step toward his goal, and he knew that he would keep fighting for his place in the world, no matter the obstacles. Izuku sat in the alleyways, feeling the weight of being quirkless. He took a sip from the bottle of water he had bought from the vending machine and pulled out his phone to message his friends in the forum. "Hey everyone, I'm not happy that I'm back," he typed, hoping to connect with them and share his thoughts. The support of his friends always made things a little easier, even in tough times. The minute I arrived in the city, I felt a mix of excitement and apprehension. This was the place where my dream school was located, but I had already faced some challenges. I had been asked to leave a convenience store simply because I was quirkless. It was frustrating, but I reminded myself that I was here to pursue my dreams. I took a deep breath and focused on the opportunities ahead, determined not to let negativity hold me back. The day had not been going well for anyone. 𝐒𝐮𝐦𝐬𝐴 sighed, sharing his frustration with the group. "It's the same as always. I faced discrimination a couple of hours ago and was denied entry to a place. It really upset me. Let's chimed in, same here, leader. Nothing seems to change. Scrapping Barrel added, yup, it feels like we're stuck in a loop. Drop-kicking you 24/7 expressed his own frustration. I was really close to losing my cool earlier. The group continued to share their experiences, supporting each other through the challenges they faced. Out of a couple of punks. The problem is, shattering expectations stopped me from doing so. Shattering expectations. I'd rather not have you get in trouble for confronting them. The authorities might not understand our situation. Flying Toth Vortex. Same. I had a bad experience with a villain, and the officers didn't take me seriously. A Storma Facet. It seems like they're okay with people taking matters into their own hands. Red Chicken Wings. Or they just make excuses to put us down. Megatronus. Listen, everyone. I know you're all frustrated. But trust me, I have a plan to show everyone here that we matter. That we can stand up for ourselves. Just be patient with me, it'll be worth it. Shemavesher body like 𝐒𝐮𝐦𝐦𝐚𝐫𝐲. Is this what you and its a Shockwave are working on? Just as Izuku was about to respond, he was interrupted by a familiar voice calling out to him. DKU. Izuku sighed, knowing this was coming. As he felt the wind behind him approaching, he sidestepped to his right, dodging an attack from none other than Katsuki Bakugo. Bakugo looked at Izuku with surprise, not expecting him to evade the attack so skillfully. He crashed to the ground but managed to roll and stop himself. Breathing heavily, Bakugo turned his attention to Izuku, who had a confident smirk on his face. The reason? He had successfully dodged Bakugo's attack, and he knew it would frustrate him. Bakugo, DMNU, Deku. Wipe that smirk off your face before I get serious. He didn't want to admit it, but the Izuku he knew was different from the last time they met. Thanks to Sector 7 training during his free time and his father's support with a balanced diet and routine, Izuku had gained strength and confidence. He had also learned various forms of close combat, which would be crucial for the upcoming entrance exam. However, Izuku sighed, realizing that even after a year, Bakugo was still the same as before, arrogant and boastful about being the future #1 hero. Izuku, even if it's been a year, you're still the same, Bakugo. He says with disinterest, and Bakugo's attitude makes him frustrated. In Bakugo's eyes, it looks like Izuku is looking down on him, when in reality, Izuku couldn't care less. He doesn't need Bakugo and won't ever support him in any endeavor related to his so-called career as a hero. Izuku will solely focus on himself and his friends. Izuku, anyway, you can boast to your friends behind you to make yourself feel good while I have other matters to attend to. He wasted no time and walked away, not even giving a wave, meaning Izuku did not acknowledge Bakugo's presence and ignored him completely. Knowing Bakugo, he did not take this lightly. Bakugo, Deku. Get back here. Don't you ignore me. Just because you left and came back as a different person doesn't change anything. You're still nothing compared to me. Izuku, Bakugo, you don't have what it takes. Bakugo, what does that even mean? Stop looking down on me, you worthless Deku. You forget you're nothing more than a quirkless loser. You won't own up to anything, you hear me? Nothing. He yelled, sparks flying from his hands, ready to unleash his frustration. However, if this had been the Izuku who didn't have the courage to stand up for himself, he would have shaken in fear at Bakugo's yelling, bracing himself for an attack. But here, Izuku was no longer afraid of Bakugo. He saw Bakugo as nothing more than a delusional child thinking he was the greatest, stemming from everyone enabling him to do whatever he wished without consequences. In their eyes, he was their star pupil, but in reality, he was just a means to boost their reputations. Izuku thought of them as leeches. He then looked over to his leather jacket, noticing something stuck onto it, preferably on the left side of his chest. A sticker. The sticker resembled a logo he had seen before, but this one was based on the head of a mech his father built. It was a reminder of his father, who had helped put Izuku on the path he was on now, and Izuku never regretted accepting that help. It gave him the push he needed to stand up for himself and let go of the past. He brushed past it with his fingers and took a deep breath. It was time to finally stand up to Bakugo, and Izuku wouldn't care about the consequences. He wouldn't be afraid anymore. Izuku, ever the prideful one, aren't you? If we were still kids, I could ignore these childish proclamations as you wanting to become the greatest hero ever. But we're not children anymore, nor am I the foolish boy who fails to see the truth of who you really are. Even now, you still act like a child just because you have power. People who agree with your actions do so to boost their own reputations. But we all know their efforts will be for nothing because in reality, those people in that school don't realize that nobody will care about the pro-hero who makes a change in society. No, let me rephrase that, gets the top spot on a pedestal. So, Bakugo, let me tell you, all those praises and merits you have been receiving are nothing more than illusions to let those people feel proud of themselves in their already miserable lives. Bakugo, Deku, he said the nickname or insult he called Izuku with anger, his frustration boiling over as Izuku continued. Izuku, you can believe whatever you want, Bakugo. But I never looked down on you. I was your #1 fan. Someone who was going to support you. But it seems your pride and fragile ego told you otherwise. And I do hope to see it all come crashing down. Some would think what I say is unheroic, but then again, karma is a thing, and it will always come back around. Ain't that right, Bakugo? That did it. Bakugo was frustrated by Izuku's words, refusing to accept their truth. In a familiar manner, he used his quirk to propel himself upwards, aiming to unleash another attack with his explosion quirk. However, Bakugo underestimated Izuku, who had faced similar attacks many times before. Without wasting any time, Izuku got into a stance, and when Bakugo got close, pow! Izuku executed an uppercut that sent Bakugo flying through the air. The impact was strong, thanks to a special feature he had added to his suit back at Island, allowing him to enhance his strength without fully suiting up. The hit sent Bakugo several feet away, serving as a test of the suit's capabilities. Izuku looked over at Bakugo, who was being checked on by his friends, and saw him stirring in and out of consciousness. Unsure if Bakugo could hear him, Izuku spoke anyway. You know, finally standing up for myself and being able to punch you felt good. I should have done this a long time ago. But I learned that kindness isn't meant for everyone. Some people just don't deserve it. With that, Izuku turned and walked away, leaving Bakugo glaring at him as he disappeared from sight. As he walked through the streets of Mustafa, Izuku felt a sense of relief that Bakugo had faced consequences for his actions. It felt like justice. Even though he was no longer at Aldera and wouldn't have to deal with Bakugo's behavior for now, he knew they would eventually meet again at U. Izuku was confident Bakugo would pass the entrance exam, given his quirk. Shaking off the thought, he decided to message his friends in the forum. Before he could do so, a concerning message from one of his friends caught his attention. It was a distress call. This thunder is cracking, guys. We need help. It's an emergency. Megatronus, what's going on? What happened? This thunder is cracking. A group of villains jumped us because we're easy targets. We managed to fend them off and ran to an alleyway, but they're still chasing us. Barricading Thwal, who are you with right now? Your family. Are they safe? This thunder is cracking. I'm not with family. I'm with our friends from the forum. We went to meet up and got jumped. It's me, the sky's warping, thrust in me, Ramthus Jet, and deranged is. The sky's warping? Yeah, it was going well until this happened. Barricading Thwal. That's nice, but send us your location. Megatronus. Yeah, we can intercept them and find you. Ramthus Jet, on it. There was silence for a few seconds as Izuku jogged through the streets, scanning the alleyways for any signs of trouble. He looked back at his phone and saw a photo of their location had been sent, showing a map with a marker indicating where they were. Ramthus Jet, here. Is anyone close? Megatronus, I am. The Sunoff storms, I am too, and I have some backup. Megatronus, stall them for as long as you can. Thrust in me. What do you think we've been doing this whole time? Izuku didn't hesitate and sprinted toward the location. He was close, as he had mentioned in the chat. He made a beeline for the alleyway, nearly stumbling as he turned the corner and dashed inside. In the alley, he heard faint sounds of rustling, confirming he was in the right place. He increased his speed and rounded another corner, leading to a more open area where he found 5 kids defending themselves against a group of thugs. Thug 1. Well now, look at this. Someone's joining the party. It seems you brought backup. The thug was holding a boy by the collar, lifting him into the air before dropping him. The thugs now focused their attention on Izuku. Izuku, yeah, and you wished you didn't end up facing me. His forearms transformed into gauntlets resembling those from his mech, with the fingers on the metal hand lighting up purple, ready for action as Izuku showcased a confident smirk. Izuku, fair warning. I'm Quirkless, and I'm certain me defeating you will be a blow to your pride. Thug 1, we'll see, brat. The leader of the thugs sent out around 4 of them to charge towards Izuku. He got into a stance, his shins now turning cybernetic and glowing purple, surprising both groups. Izuku took a deep breath, followed by a smirk and, with a burst of speed, he dashed forward, kneeing the first thug in his sights. The hit was strong, sending the thug flying into another, and they both crashed to the ground, groaning in pain. Izuku blocked an attack from a thug with a sword quirk, where metal liquid formed his arms into swords. Izuku then punched the thug straight in the gut, knocking the wind out of him. He followed up with an uppercut, sending the thug tumbling to the ground, and then back-kicked another thug, staggering him. Izuku grabbed the thug by the hair and threw him toward his lackeys, causing them all to crash together. This angered the leader of the thugs, who charged at Izuku along with the last 3. As Izuku finished off the thugs sent after him, he used his mechanical forearms to block their strikes. One thug with a metal knuckle quirk went for a punch, but Izuku sidestepped and got the thug in an arm lock. Without hesitation, he punched the thug in the elbow, causing him to cry out in pain. Izuku pushed the man away, stepping back to dodge punches from another thug, and kicked a thug in the stomach when he lunged at him. The first thug that attacked earlier tried again, but Izuku countered by kicking him in the knee, staggering him before grabbing his head and pulling it to his knee, causing the thug to cry out. Izuku then delivered a quick punch, knocking him out and leaving only a few thugs left, plus the leader. Izuku, let's see if that small feature I added in this form works. He looked at his hands to see a vein-like outline appearing around his forearms, hands, and fingers, all glowing purple as Izuku fired purple projectiles from the palm of his hand, hitting the thugs. This surprised them, as they hadn't expected Izuku to shoot projectiles. It took out 4 thugs in one go, stunning them without causing serious harm, and Izuku amped up the power while ensuring it wasn't deadly. Thug 1, what the? I thought you said you were quirkless. Izuku, I am. With a swift motion, he punched the first thug he had his sights on, firing off a projectile to stun him before delivering the hit, knocking the thug down hard. Izuku then fired off 2 shots, hitting the thug to his right, followed by a right hook to their face, leaving only the leader of the thugs. The leader screamed in rage, using his spike-based quirk to shoot out wooden spikes from his palm like bullets. Izuku reached his hand forward and opened it, a hard light shield appearing in front of him, blocking the spikes as they shattered upon impact. Izuku sprinted forward with the shield in hand, surprising the leader until the hard light shield hit the leader in the face, stunning him. Taking this chance, Izuku deactivated the shield and struck the leader in the stomach, staggering him before delivering a series of punches to the man's chest, followed by left and right hooks to his cheek multiple times, finishing with an uppercut that sent the thug into the air before crashing to the ground, knocked out. A voice belonging to the victim spoke out, amazed at what they saw involving Izuku saving them. Speaking of Izuku, he deactivated the cybernetic armor on his arms and legs as it retracted, disappearing from sight. Izuku walked over to the group and reached his hand out to the first person in front of him. Izuku, you guys okay? Yeah. We are. Izuku helps the person up, revealing a young boy the same age as him. He looks at the group, which consists of 4 boys and 1 girl, all around his age. Izuku, so, who's who here? I can see you guys recognizing me since 𝐒𝐻𝐸𝐴 posted what we were working on in the forum. He points at the group. Given the design of the forearm and shin armor he showcased, Izuku hopes they'll recognize him if they see the armor up close. The armor is similar to his mech, and the messages are a hint as well. Goro, I'll start it up since I brought you here in the first place. You know me as this thunderous cracking, but my real name is Goro Kuraka. Goro is a young boy with medium-length dark blue hair that's spiked up on one side and light blue eyes. Sora, the name's Sora Wapu, and you know me as the sky's warping. Sora has black hair with purple streaks, styled flat on top, and purple eyes. Jetto Karada or Ramthusjit. Jetto has slicked back red and black hair with brown eyes. Ranji, the name's Ranji Suryuko, but you know me as Thrustin. And I don't mean what I say literally. Ranji has green hair with white streaks, curled up, and yellow eyes. Ika Erigi, deranged as and please don't be surprised I'm a girl. I mean it won't top our reactions when it came to its shockwave. Ika is a young girl with a blue bob cut hairstyle, straight bangs, and yellow eyes. She is shorter than the others. Izuku, tell me about it. Has its shockwave ever told you her full name or just me? They shake their heads. Izuku, figures. But I take it you know who I am given the armor I used. Goro, we do. So you're Megatronus, the one who created the forum and brought us together. Izuku, the one and only. Ika, never thought we would meet the maker of the forum himself. Izuku, I never would have thought the user with a username related to the word deranged is a girl. Ika, life's full of surprises. Plus, I don't want its shockwave making a fuss about it, right? Izuku Midoriya. And considering how close we all are, you can call me Izuku. He smiles brightly, and the group shields their eyes. Everyone, so bright. Just then, they hear sounds coming from the same path Izuku took to rescue them. Izuku gets his gauntlets ready, thinking they might be facing more trouble. To their surprise, it's another group of young kids around the same age, all running in out of breath, holding noticeable weapons, mainly bats. Jetto, okay, so who are these guys? Ranji, probably the ones who said they're also headed here. Question is, who are they in the forum? One of the new kids steps forward, raising their hands in surrender and letting go of the bat to show they mean no harm. Teo, easy, we're all friends here. We're not here to harm any of you. I can see by the unconscious thugs on the ground and you with some sort of weapon that we are here for the same thing. To help you guys. My name is Teo Erasure, but you know me as the Son of Storms. Teo has medium-length orange hair and yellow eyes. The group is shocked. They remember seeing Teo's messages in the chat about heading their way. Izuku, nice to hear our forum is willing to help us when we're really in danger. He approaches Teo and introduces himself, shaking hands. Izuku, nice to meet you, Teo. The name's Izuku Midoriya, but you know me as Megatronus. It's good to finally meet you guys. I take it you came across the rest of the members of your group. Teo, three of them are family, one is my sister and the other two are my cousins. While Red over here is the only one we came across on the way here. And so, Teo began introducing his group one by one. Teo, this here is my twin sister, Noba Erasure. You know her as Stormoff Novus. Everyone groaned at the mention of Melissa, as Noba was a young girl with medium-length orange hair and yellow eyes. Teo, then my cousins, Saname Erasure, or Acid Rain. He introduced Erasure, who was a boy with messy green hair and yellow eyes. Teo, Irundo Erasure, or Ionynthus Storm. Then Irundo, a boy with light blue hair and yellow eyes. Teo, as for him, Akakai Tsubasa is the guy we came across on the way here to save you. He goes by the name Red Chicken Wings. He pointed out Akakai, who was a boy with spiky red hair and orange eyes, wearing shades that were tinted yellow. Akakai, yep. But it's nice to finally meet you all and see how you look. It's kind of weird, to be honest. I wonder if we can meet the rest later on, considering most of us are around the same age. Noba, I'm more interested in meeting its shockwave so I can give her a piece of my mind. Teo, please don't. This was met with laughter as Izuku enjoyed the moment with a smile. However, he couldn't help but take note of the names mentioned, mainly the usernames of his friends. Given the names of the Cybertronians he read about during his time in Island, Izuku realized those present were essentially half of the Seekers. Thundercracker, Sky Warp, Move, Ramjet, Dirge, Sunstorm, Nova Storm, Acid Storm, Ion Storm, and Red Wing. The only members of the main group missing were those with usernames related to Starscream and Slipstream. Izuku couldn't tell if meeting the so-called seekers was a coincidence or what Melissa liked to call plot convenience. But his thoughts were interrupted when an authoritative voice called out to them. "Hey, what's going on here?" Everyone jumped at the voice and turned to see a police officer approaching. The officer was tall, with yellow eyes and short, slicked back. Black hair, with several locks framing his face. He walked over and saw a group of kids standing near some thugs on the ground. The officer said nothing, giving Izuku time to formulate a plan for what he was going to say. "Izuku, officer, thank goodness you came just in time." "Officer, is that so? Care to explain why there's a group of men on the ground?" "Izuku, simple. My friends and I were targeted by a group of villains, mostly thugs. We were targeted because we are quirkless, which makes us easy prey. To escape them, we ran into this alleyway to hopefully lose them. Unfortunately, that was not the case. We were about to fend them off when a vigilante came in and rescued us just in time. It was a vigilante and not a pro-hero because they left the thugs on the ground instead of tying them up. The vigilante left us here without saying a word, and we were planning to call the cops to get these guys arrested until you showed up." "Officer, is this true?" The cop looked over at the group with Izuku, wanting to confirm his story. They all nodded in agreement, supporting Izuku's account. They understood what Izuku was doing to protect their friend who saved them, and luckily, it seemed the officer believed them. "Officer, very well. I'll let this slide. Best you get out of here. If it were any other officer, I doubt they'd let you off with a warning." "Izuku, of course, officer. Come on guys. Let's go." They nodded as Izuku led them out of the alleyway, the officer watching them closely. Once they reached the street, the group let out sighs of relief. "Sora, oof, thank goodness we got out of that. Jetto, tell me about it." "I thought that officer was going to take us into the station and do the usual things when they deal with Quirkless. Ranji, which is not take our side, depending on which officer we got. Teo, and we got the lucky one." While the group is talking and introducing themselves to one another, since they couldn't do it properly back there in the alleyway, Goro decides to talk to Izuku, who is seen looking at his phone before turning his attention to his friend. "Goro, so Izuku, you busy? Since this is your first time meeting us, do you want to hang out? Get to know all of us properly?" When he said that, Izuku is tempted to go, but to be quite frank, this was all quite sudden, mainly involving rescuing his friends, who he finally met in person, but he still has errands to do involving his plans for you. Even if he hates it, he has other concerns at the moment and must prioritize them. After all, he can still meet them any day now that he knows they aren't too far away from where he lives. "Izuku, I would love to, Goro. But I have other matters to attend to. Although, may I have your numbers?" "Melissa, that's Say Shockwave's real name. I'll have her introduce herself properly the next time around. She has something big planned, and you're all involved in this. Just give us time, and you'll be in for the surprise of a lifetime." At least in this moment, Izuku can give hints on what he and Melissa have planned for their friends, with Izuku now taking note of their ages, which will be helpful in regards to how they want it to go in relation to the entrance exam. "Goro, is that so?" "Izuku, yes." "Goro, very well then." So, for the past 5 minutes, the group spent this time exchanging numbers, and once that was done, each said their goodbyes. The only person left there is Izuku, watching all his friends leave, a smile on his face. He wonders who else in the forum he is going to meet in person. Quite a show you put on there. But his moment was interrupted when a voice called out to him. Izuku turned to its source, which was from the alleyway behind him, and was met with a slim man with pale skin, yellowed teeth, and a great deal of wrinkles around his eyes. His lips were chapped and uneven, with a small mole on the right underneath his lip, and visible scars on his right eye and across his lip on the left. He had messy, grayish-blue hair of varying lengths, the longest clumps reaching about his shoulders, left hanging over his face in uneven waves. His eyes and mouth were normally obscured, but when visible, were usually stretched wide in a rather unusual manner, his bright red irises very small. He wore plain red sneakers, along with black breathes and a matching long-sleeved V-neck shirt. He also wore a plain black jacket over the top, with his hood up to cover his face. When this individual appeared out of nowhere, Izuku was on guard, ready to react if the man tried something. However, he had to do it discreetly, as Izuku was out in the open, and people would get the wrong idea if he attacked someone who might not have ill intentions. Izuku, and who are you supposed to be? Just a spectator. I thought you were some sort of pro-hero, even a vigilante. But to think from what I heard your friends say, you're quirkless. That made Izuku narrow his eyes at the man. Izuku, and do you have a problem with that? No, I don't. Like me, I too have experienced a form of discrimination. Izuku, is that so? Would you mind explaining more about this? I have all the time in the world. He heard the man humming for a few seconds before watching him sit on a bench. Actually, I do. Unsure about this but deciding to give it the benefit of the doubt, Izuku made sure to put in countermeasures, just in case, and sat down on the bench as they began this conversation. Izuku, do you now? I highly doubt someone with a quirk faced discrimination compared to how we experienced it. Then again, there is such a thing as villainous quirks or those related to mutant quirks. I take it you are one of them. His question was met with silence for a minute or so until the man answered him. Not in a way you expect. But I understand where you're coming from, given what you have faced. But tell me, has a hero ever reached out to you, giving you the help or hope you needed? Izuku, to your surprise, no. Not a single hero reached out to me when I called for help, and I doubt it would ever happen. He glanced at the man, who still had his hood on, and noticed a look of surprise in his body language. Is that so? Izuku, yes. People don't understand. They never do. They always thought the heroes are there for you, but in reality, they are not. Look, I'll tell you this, I'm an avid fan of heroes, but with certain things happening in my life, I'm slowly losing interest. Even then, I always wondered if a hero would help someone like me, but it seems they don't care unless it benefits them. If not, then they tend to ignore it. Acts of kindness are rare in this society. We who are quirkless have to rely on each other because society often overlooks us. It's frustrating. This was something we didn't want. We didn't ask for this. The man didn't respond and encouraged Izuku to continue, finding this conversation interesting. Izuku, the quirkists don't know what we have endured, the insults, the taunts, the mockery. They don't care about us and never will. I truly hope to meet the number one hero, All Might, and ask him the question, can someone like me, someone who is quirkless, be a hero? If I ever get that chance, I will ask him that. And what happens if he says otherwise? In truth, Izuku didn't know the answer to that. He wasn't sure what he would do if All Might said otherwise, but he was certain that All Might would give him the hope he needed once he asked that very question. Izuku, I'm confident he won't disappoint. It's All Might, he gives us the hope we need to pursue our goals and achieve our dreams. I'm certain the symbol of peace won't look down on us. He could tell the man didn't believe him, but Izuku didn't care. He didn't even know the guy to begin with. It's your choice. But to think someone like you wishes to be a hero despite the world turning their back on you. They have done the same to me and look where I am now. Izuku, quite frankly, I asked the same question myself. Where would I be if I waited for a hero to come save me? That is why I decided otherwise. And what do you mean by that? Izuku, I'm choosing to do things my way, and if society hates it, so be it. I have friends by my side who will help me challenge the system. We want to be heard, and we are going to stop at nothing to get what we deserve. Just like what happened to both of us, I will take the hand of those who need the help they wished for when no one else gave it to them. It will take years to achieve our dream, but for us, a small step is a start, and it will be a big step in the long run. And you had help with this. Izuku, I do. But I also learned I need to do things myself to achieve my dreams. No one is there to hold your hand in the end. It is up to us to make the decisions going forward. But it helps to have people there for you from time to time. As Izuku looked at the man, he was met with silence once again. Izuku observed him, noticing he seemed to be pondering what he had said. He was curious about what the man was thinking but decided not to disturb him and waited for his response. Let me ask you this. I can tell you're an inventor, like what you see in video games. Since you're quirkless, you won't have the means to fight back against villains. Izuku, that's true. But if given the chance, would you want to rid someone of their quirk? This question surprised Izuku. He had heard of people who disliked their quirks, but he usually didn't hear anyone stating they wanted to get rid of their quirks by any means necessary. Izuku went into deep thought. He recalled talking to 𝐒𝐮𝐦𝐦𝐸𝐸, who hinted that Sector 7 had the means to remove people's quirks. 𝐒𝐮𝐦𝐸𝐸 didn't specify how such a thing was possible or how they made it happen. Then again, it was Sector 7 who had access to advanced technology. Izuku, and why do you want to rid yourself of your quirk? Don't play dumb with me. It's easy to tell you dislike your quirk. I've met many who feel the same way. My question is, why? Someone told me it's a blessing, what my quirk can do. But to me, I see it as a curse, something that brought me to this situation in the first place. I dislike heroes because they made me who I am, and I believe sooner or later, you'll feel the same. Pushed to the brink by people who choose to hinder you, yet don't understand that you want to be like them, a so-called hero in this corrupt and unjust society. This surprised Izuku. He never really hated heroes. He disliked how people with powerful quirks could do whatever they pleased without consequence, especially towards those who were weaker. He and many others had been victims of this. He understood, in a way, why this man hated heroes despite having a quirk. No one was there for him when he needed it. Izuku thought many others were the same as this man, which is why they turned to villainy. He could only frown at that thought and spoke back. Izuku, here's a theory. What if I have the means to help you get rid of your quirk? Possibly bring you into our group. Help you. Unlike the heroes. Are you willing to accept it? Yes. Again, that surprised Izuku. Izuku, all right then. Before he could respond further, he looked at his phone and was surprised by the time. Izuku, well, would you look at the time? I have to go, I have other things to do. But it was nice meeting you. Oh, and if you want to remember who I am, my name's Izuku Midoriya. What's yours? He looked at the man, who said nothing, his head down, lost in thought. Izuku watched as the man slowly turned to him and spoke his name. Tenko Shimura. Izuku, then I hope to see you around, Shimura. He said as he took his leave, with Tenko watching him. Tenko had thoughts about their little meeting. Tenko, he's an okay kid. I'll make sure not to cross him if he doesn't annoy me when we confront you. He looked down at his phone, where he was browsing a website about Quirkless individuals. Tenko, let's see just how badly the Quirkless are really being treated. Maybe I can learn something here. Time skip Izuku. Well, this day was certainly interesting. He said, walking through the streets again. Izuku had a lot of thoughts on his mind. Firstly, he was excited about meeting his friends from the forum for the first time. He never thought this would happen at all. He got lucky when he met Melissa back in Island, but meeting Goro, Teo, and the others was something he hadn't expected, especially saving them from a group of thugs. It was something to say the least. Izuku always knew them online, so meeting all of them in person would take some getting used to. Melissa was easy since she was just one person, but a group was a different story, and something Izuku wasn't quite ready for. He wondered who else from the forum he would meet today. Secondly, since his forum friends were around the same age as him, Izuku's plans could progress rapidly. He and Melissa had started building Cybertronian mechs for their friends. It took a while to get approval, but once they did, they got to work. Besides preparing for the entrance exams, Izuku was also focused on this project as a way for a Quirkless group to defy expectations and pass the entrance exam with flying colors. The challenge was that he needed a total of 20 students, and he had only found a few. He would have to ask around without coming off as creepy online or rely on sheer luck to meet someone from the forum randomly in the city. Lastly, he reflected on his encounter with Tenko Shimura. Izuku always had an idea of how hero society viewed those with villainous quirks and those who were mutants. He never really knew who faced the worst treatment, considering he had also faced challenges from society. In some cases, the Quirkless had not experienced a massacre, but they faced mockery and constant bullying that pushed some to despair. This brought Izuku a new perspective on just how corrupt hero society really was. They weren't the only ones who had not received a helping hand when they called for help. But Izuku still wanted to focus more on his own kind. Those with villainous quirks could still find a way to fit into society, They just had to work hard to show they could become heroes. But for the Quirkless, there seemed to be no way to be part of hero society. They tried hard but received nothing in return, and it was painful to acknowledge that this was the truth in their world. Izuku thought to himself, I need to schedule a talk with Melissa about this. She might have some logical input regarding this topic. My head is still trying to process all this information. As he walked toward a tunnel under the bridge, a voice called out to him. Well, what do we have here? A fitting host that will serve as the perfect disguise for me. Don't try to struggle, kid. I'll make this quick. Izuku found himself face to face with the sludge villain, who lunged at him, attempting to engulf him in a muddy substance. However, Izuku remained calm and had a plan. Izuku thought, tough luck for you. You won't get what you want because I'm prepared. With his free arm, which wasn't covered in sludge, he managed to grab something from his belt, a multi-purpose gadget. He pressed a button in the middle of the gadget, changing the color of the light to a lighter blue, indicating a different setting. He then plunged it into the sludge villain's body, letting it go once he knew it was inside. This surprised the villain. Sludge villain, what? The gadget activated, releasing a burst of energy that incapacitated the sludge villain. The muddy substance released its grip on Izuku, who coughed out the last of the sludge from his mouth. He looked at the sludge villain, now on the ground and unable to move. Izuku said, never underestimate advanced technology. He removed the last of the sludge from his legs and noticed the sludge villain lying flat on the ground. Izuku thought, now, how do I make sure you won't escape? His eyes caught a bottle nearby, and he quickly grabbed it, scooping up the remains of the sludge villain to ensure nothing was left behind. He conjured a heads-up display to scan the area for any residue, confirming that everything was contained in the bottle. Just as he was about to leave, intending to discreetly drop the bottle at the police station, a loud voice boomed behind him. Fear not, citizen. For I am. The force of the voice created a small gust of wind that made Izuku shield himself. Once the wind settled, he turned to see who it was and was shocked. All Might, late. Standing before him was none other than All Might, the #1 hero and the symbol of peace. Izuku thought, oh my god. It's actually All Might. He tried to calm himself, not wanting to appear foolish in front of his hero, but his excitement was hard to contain. All Might, excuse me, my boy. Have you seen a villain around here? I was searching for one, and they said this was his last known location. Izuku replied, you mean the sludge villain? I have him right here. He presented the bottle to All Might. Izuku explained, when I was walking to the bridge, I found this bottle moving frantically. I was worried something bad might happen if I opened it, so I was going to take it to the police station until you arrived, All Might. Despite being in the presence of All Might, Izuku still felt the need to be cautious, not wanting to draw the ire of pro-heroes or anyone else. All Might nodded, I see. Thankfully, you did the right thing by handing it to the authorities. Who knows what could have happened if you opened it? The #1 hero was handed the bottle and placed it in his pocket, which made Izuku worry it might fall out since it wasn't secured properly. Izuku, nothing good. Also, can I have All Might? Don't worry, my boy. For it is already done. He showcased Izuku's notebook, which he no longer used for heroes but now for his Cybertronian mechs, and it had All Might's signature on it. Izuku, that was fast. All Might, anyway, thank you for all your help, my boy. Now, I must go and turn this villain over to the police. Farewell, citizen. And I'm counting on your continued support. Just as All Might was about to leave, Izuku remembered his conversation with Tenko and realized this was his chance to ask All Might a question. However, he didn't get the opportunity as All Might jumped into the air at rapid speed, creating a huge gust of wind as he soared high into the sky. Izuku, All Might. He wasted no time and chased after All Might at top speed using the boosters on his legs. As he continued to shout All Might's name, All Might looked back and was surprised to see Izuku flying. All Might, wait, you can fly. Izuku, I need to ask you a question. All Might, I don't think this is a good moment for that. Izuku, just one question, All Might. That's all I need. At that moment, Izuku had his visor on and narrowed his eyes, noticing something unusual. He saw bits of blood coming from All Might's mouth, which made him realize something was off. Izuku followed All Might to a rooftop and safely landed using his boosters. He stared at All Might, but before any words could be exchanged, he noticed smoke emitting from All Might's body. As the smoke cleared, he was met with Small Might, and Izuku stared in silence, which made All Might worry that Izuku thought he was an imposter. So he began to explain. All Might, kid, let me explain. Izuku, interesting. All Might was taken aback by Izuku's response. That was not the reaction he had expected. All Might, that was not the reaction I was expecting. Just who is this kid? He was even more surprised when Izuku walked up to him. All Might noticed Izuku's visor displaying multiple screens, indicating that he was scanning All Might to understand why he appeared this way. His time at Island had made him more relaxed and analytical, allowing him to come up with theories and plans in situations where most would panic. Izuku, judging from what my scans show, this really is All Might. There's no doubt about it. The database confirmed it 3 times. So it can't be an imposter. But how did it come to this? His visor focused on something in All Might's stomach, and it provided Izuku with an answer. Izuku, so that's it. All Might figured. Are you even listening to me? Izuku, oh sorry. I wasn't paying attention. You see, my visor was able to pinpoint an injury of yours in your stomach. My scans also indicate the damage is serious. I take it you had multiple surgeries that didn't go well. All Might was surprised. This kid could figure out his injury through that device when no one else could. He quickly masked his surprise and responded. All Might, yes, you are right about that. This injury caused half of my respiratory organs to be destroyed, and I lost my entire stomach. Because of it, I've become emaciated from repeated surgeries and their aftereffects. Izuku, I wonder if S7 has the means to fix this injury. All Might, and young man, I'm certain you won't bring this out to the public. Izuku nodded in response. All Might, because if people hear about this, it will cause problems in the long run, and that smile of theirs will disappear upon seeing someone like me, someone they look up to, in their most vulnerable state. Izuku, I understand it greatly. From what I was always told by my friends online, All Might is always shown to be the pillar of society. A wall that protects us. If we see cracks in the walls, seeds of doubt will be planted, leading to disastrous consequences. All Might, speaking of which, young man, what was the question you were going to ask me? This made Izuku a bit nervous since he didn't really have time to prepare himself. But given the situation, he would have to ask his hero the question and await his answer, wanting to see if someone like him could truly be a hero. Izuku, my question. He took a deep breath and asked away. Izuku, All Might, can someone like me, someone who is quirkless, be a hero? All Might, wait, quirkless? But you were flying. I thought that was your quirk. Same with the whole scanning thing. Izuku, oh they aren't my quirks. They're support items I created to help me in the long run. Since I'm quirkless, I need to have the tools to get an edge on the villains. But even so, I've proved to you that I can be helpful in times when a hero is needed. So tell me, All Might, despite being quirkless, can I be a hero? He looked to All Might, hoping to get the answer he wanted. Unfortunately, Izuku could read All Might's emotions as he pondered the words Izuku had said. All Might let out a sigh and gave Izuku his answer. All Might, I'm sorry, young man. But with how the world works right now, with how many pro heroes are risking their lives, I cannot simply say, you can become a hero even without power, even if you have the means to do so. There are bigger challenges out there, and without your tools, if they get destroyed, you won't have the means to defeat a villain. Trust me on this, young man. It's better this way. If you really want to help others, then you could also become a police officer. I know even the officers who are quirkless are looked down upon, but it's a start. You can use your talent and gadgets to help benefit the heroes. But I say again, and I'm sorry if it hurts. You cannot be a hero. It's a dangerous job, and those without power won't have the means to do good if they are just going to get themselves hurt. He said, as Izuku stood still, processing the words All Might had spoken to him. All Might decided to take his leave to avoid making the situation worse, but left some parting words as he made his way to the door of the rooftop. All Might, it's not bad to dream. But you need to be realistic here, young man. The doors shut, leaving Izuku alone on the rooftop, processing the words that All Might had told him, and he couldn't believe it. He just couldn't believe what he was told. Izuku, All Might, the hero I idolized, told me I couldn't be a hero. But I showed him that I have the means to become one. The tools I had gave me an edge. Even then, he didn't give me the hope I needed, the words that I wanted to hear. He always said that anyone can be a hero. But it seems it only matters to those who have power, to those who are strong. And the weak mean nothing. Unknowingly, Izuku clenched his fists, feeling a surge of frustration. He remembered the question Tenko had asked him about how he would react if he didn't get the answer he was looking for, and all Izuku could feel was disappointment. He thought All Might would give him the hope he needed, the motivation to push forward to become a hero. But now, all he felt was disappointment. He felt like the other pro-heroes in this society, lacking faith that people like him could be heroes, that they could stand as equals. To them, he and his kind were overlooked. Izuku, forget him. Forget all of them. I don't need All Might anymore. I'll make my own path and prove him wrong. That a quirkless person like me can be a hero, even if the world is against it. I have people with me who share the same dream, and I won't let anyone tell me otherwise. Suddenly, Izuku looked towards the right side and was met with an explosion in the distance. He rushed to the edge of the roof where the railing was and used his visor to figure out what was going on, hacking into any camera he could find in the vicinity. Once he was able to do so, Izuku saw what was happening, and his eyes widened in shock. Oh no, he thought. Time skip in the location of the Tetuan shopping district, where the explosion came from. The sludge villain had been freed and was causing a rampage in the street. Buildings around him were damaged, and he had taken Bakugo hostage. Bakugo had come across a bottle that fell from All Might's pocket, and upon opening it he found himself in the hands of the sludge villain. Izuku was among the crowd, his thoughts racing as he observed the scene. Damn it, I knew something was off when I saw an object moving at fast speeds while I was chasing after All Might. It was the sludge villain. He slowly moved closer, seeing Bakugo using his quirk to try and free himself, but ultimately making the situation worse as the sludge villain shot out more mud-like substances around the streets, forcing many of the heroes back. Izuku was now at the front, watching as the police cordoned off the area to prevent anyone from getting in. He noticed that MT Lady couldn't do anything due to her quirk posing a problem, 𝐒𝐮𝐬𝐦𝐸𝐸 Woods couldn't act because of the fire risk, and Backdraft was busy putting out the flames. Izuku felt frustrated by what Death Arms and the other pro-heroes had said. They needed to wait for a pro-hero with a suitable quirk to arrive. The thought made him angry. Don't just stand there. Formulate a plan and try to do something. Waiting for another hero with a suitable quirk to arrive might be the better option, but time is also a problem you cannot ignore. At any given second, Bakugo could be in serious danger if you don't act. Surround him and possibly attack from all sides. If you can find an opening, take it and rescue him. He clenched his fists, feeling helpless as he watched Bakugo in danger. A voice inside him urged him to show everyone what a quirkless person could do. Another voice reminded him that he wanted to save Bakugo to prove that someone like him could be a hero without a quirk. I'm going to regret this, Izuku thought. With a sigh, he knew a storm was about to brew from his actions, but it was a start. Izuku ran forward without a second thought, ignoring Death Arms calling out to him. He pressed a device on his chest, and his Cybertronian mech formed around him. Compared to the first suit he made, the upgraded design felt heavier, more imposing, and far more regal. The previous version focused on sleek mobility and combat versatility, while this one projected depth and authority. The last suit leaned toward slimmer plating for high-speed movement and adaptability. This version incorporated reinforced, angular plating with a near-mechanical bulk. The layered armor showcased durability against physical and ranged quirks while keeping articulation points flexible enough for precision strikes. The head was now knightly and sinister, shaped with narrow, glowing optics and a faceplate resembling a warlord's helm. The upgraded suit added in layered plating, making it bulkier than its predecessor. The gauntlets and greaves were reinforced, built with weight and strength that gave Izuku a gladiatorial presence. When Izuku changed into his armor, shocked and surprised expressions spread among everyone watching the scene. Many commented on how a kid was able to summon a suit that was quite tall, standing at 15 feet. Those among the pro heroes thought Izuku was a rookie pro hero, but it was quickly proven otherwise when they noticed he was wearing a middle school uniform, while an officer holding back the crowd narrowed his eyes at Izuku. Sludge villain. Wait, that brat. I recognize your face. Izuku stops right in front of the sludge villain, glancing behind him to see the crowd watching. He doesn't bother with theatrics or words, he gets down to business. A weapon appears on his arm, forming into a fusion cannon, shocking everyone, including the sludge villain. He aims the fusion cannon at the sludge villain, causing concern among the pro heroes, who fear Izuku might do something reckless. However, Izuku's HUD identifies the perfect setting for the situation. The barrel of the fusion cannon begins to charge with purple energy. Sludge villain, I won't let you get the upper hand this time, brat. He prepares to unleash a torrent of sludge at Izuku, but Izuku is ready. Izuku, oh, I'm not so sure about that. At that moment, Izuku fires a blast from his fusion cannon. The purple projectile hits the sludge villain, and in a surprising turn of events, the sludge villain is caught in a net-like dome. The dome slowly separates Bakugo from the sludge villain, freeing Bakugo from the villain's grasp. The dome shrinks until it forms a cube that drops to the ground, trapping the sludge villain inside. Izuku walks over to the cube and picks it up, staring at it before looking over to Bakugo, who is on the ground watching him. Silence fills the air, and Bakugo, despite his pride, feels a mix of awe and respect for Izuku's imposing figure. Bakugo, Deku. Izuku doesn't respond to Bakugo. Instead, he turns to the crowd, feeling compelled to speak. He raises his fusion cannon and arm into the air. Izuku, bear witness. For all who have gazed upon this battle from the beginning, I am a man who has no power in my possession, for I am Quirkless. Yes, that's right, Quirkless. The crowd murmurs, processing the fact that the person who saved Bakugo is Quirkless. Izuku, you may believe it or not, but I am Quirkless. And yet, despite what you call a weakness, I rescued this boy when the heroes failed to do so. The heroes who decided to wait for someone with a suitable quirk to handle this, watching as this boy's life slowly faded away. Disappointing. I did it with ease despite being quirkless. I repeat, I am nothing more than a quirkless person who was able to do the job of a hero. I want you all to remember that. I want you to remember that someone like me, considered useless by society, had the means to be a hero and did so without a problem. Many have told us we are nothing more than failures. Weaklings. And yet what you see here proves them wrong. Among the crowd, All Might, alongside Small Might, watches and listens to Izuku's speech. He notices that many people are smiling, particularly those who are quirkless, seeing someone step up to show that they matter. Izuku, my name is Izuku Midoriya, and I plan to become the first quirkless hero in this unjust society. To show everyone here that we, the ones who are seen as insignificant because we don't have power, can achieve greatness. My hero told me I couldn't be a hero, but here is my response, I don't care. As long as I have people believing in me, I will stop at nothing to achieve my goal, and you can do the same. For those among the quirkless who were told they could never be heroes, I am here to tell you that you can be heroes. I am a prime example of it. We can show everyone that we can be equals and that we will never be looked down upon, once and for all. Izuku looked up at the sky and fired off a shot with the fusion cannon. This caused a chain reaction. All of those who were quirkless cheered for Izuku, many raising their arms in support. Even the police officers present joined in, chanting his name, Izuku Midoriya. Bakugo managed to get back on his feet, being bumped by the people around him as he looked at Izuku, who was now completely surrounded. Bakugo stared at Izuku, feeling a strange gut feeling that Izuku was slowly changing, and he wasn't sure if it was for better or worse, especially as the red lights on his mech grew brighter. As expected, Izuku was going to get in trouble for this stunt. Fortunately, a police officer came to his rescue. When Izuku looked closely, he recognized the officer as the same one he and his friends had encountered in the alleyway. Death arms. What do you mean we can't arrest him? Officer, it's like I said, there is nothing we can do here. The law specifically states that any illegal quirk usage can lead to arrest. The problem is the person who took down the villain is Quirkless. The actions you saw earlier are a byproduct of his support gear, which is registered and not obtained through illegal means. The law doesn't apply to him as the population is mostly comprised of those with quirks, so laws were made for people like you. No one would think a quirkless person could be a vigilante until now. Pro-hero, so we're just going to let him walk away scot-free. This isn't right. Officer, again, there's nothing we can do because the laws apply to those with quirks, not the quirkless. This is something many of you know would never happen. Kamui Woods, don't you think you're being biased considering you're quirkless? Aren't you supposed to uphold the law? He challenged the officer, who had a response ready. Officer, even if I am, I still uphold the law. But let me tell you, I've seen numerous other officers letting kids like him go for using their quirks in public or in dire situations where they acted heroically. What makes this any different? What makes Izuku Midoriya any different? You're willing to praise that boy over there for using his quirk to save himself while scolding the one who did more good than any of you. What do you have to say to that? His tone was firm, and the pro-heroes had no argument against it, knowing the officer was right. Officer, thought so. Now get out of here. Your presence annoys me. His last comment irritated some of the pro-heroes as they took their leave, giving the officer glares, which he ignored. The officer watched them leave and turned to see Izuku, now back in his civilian attire, approaching him. Officer, I can tell those guys will go online to find out if what I said is true, which it is. But they'll find ways to put you behind bars, kid. Izuku, I'm not surprised. But thanks again for helping me. I thought those heroes would actually listen to the police. I heard they usually don't and brush them off unless it's a high-ranking official. He tossed the cube to the officer, who caught it and handed it over to one of his men, instructing them to keep it secure to avoid a repeat of what happened. Officer, which I am. Although, I'd rather not disclose that I'm quirkless. If they find out, people usually don't take me seriously. Izuku, is that so? Officer, it is, Megatronus. When he mentioned Izuku's username from the forum, Izuku's eyes widened in surprise. It seemed he had encountered another member of the forum. The question was, who was this man in front of him? Izuku, what? Wait, were you? Kido, I haven't formally introduced myself. My name is Second Lieutenant Kido Cabe, but you know me as Barricading Thwal in the forum. If you want to know my standing in the police force, I'm the youngest lieutenant in the precinct. I had to work hard to be noticed by everyone around here. Izuku, is it just you in the forum that's part of the police force? Kido, nope. I know a couple of guys that you may recognize if I told you their usernames. But I can tell you're quite disappointed that I'm not in the same age group as you. Izuku, not much. Just thinking the fact that you're older. That comment actually made Kido a bit offended. Kido, I'm 24, okay. And don't tell the guys that. I'd rather do it on my own terms. Izuku, fair enough. Now it makes sense why you want to help me. Kido, us Quirkless have to stick together, and I heard about your plan back in the group chat. You taking the rest of our guys to you. To take the entrance exam. Izuku, yes. It's a Shockwave has the connections we need to help get us spots for the entrance exam, and what you saw earlier, the armor I wore. The rest will follow suit and wield the same power as me. And trust me, they'll surely love what we have in store for them. Kido, I take it I have a suit as well. He says in a joking manner, but is curious if he's going to get one. Izuku, yes. I haven't gotten into making it in full completion just yet. But the others are done. The only thing left is to show them and find out if they're of the same age for the test. Kido, I can see that as the hard part. But the guys and I look forward to what's to come. You made a name out here in regards to the Quirkless, but not much for the Quirkists. He hands Izuku a card that has his contact info on it. Kido, here's my calling card. Call me up if you're in a sticky situation. Us Quirkless have to stick together, and I have a lot of guys that can help you out. Promise me you won't take advantage of this. Izuku, trust me, barricade. I won't. Keto barricade. Barricade. I like that name. Sounds fitting. Anyway, best you get out of here. I left you off the hook with that little stunt of yours, and trust me, if any other pro hero comes here or if it's the same guys, you won't be leaving here for a while. Izuku, you got it, and I'll see you around, 𝐻𝐫𝐻. Keto, same goes to you, Midoriya. The two then said their goodbyes before taking their leave from the scene. Time skip. It is now sunset as Izuku makes his way back home. His mother will pick him up in their designated spot per usual since there is no transportation that will take Izuku to his house. There, he was met with Bakugo's voice calling out to him in his usual manner. Bakugo, Deku. Izuku turns around and sees Bakugo running up to him, out of breath. Izuku instinctively rolls his eyes, wondering what Bakugo will yell out to him this time. Izuku, what do you want, Bakugo? Bakugo, what was that earlier? I didn't ask for your help, and I didn't want to hear you talking about the Quirkless being heroes. Because that won't mean anything and you know it, he says, but Izuku gives a look that really doesn't show a reaction, only telling Bakugo to continue. Bakugo, but seeing what you did, that suit you wore. Just what happened that whole year you left. You were nothing more than a Quirkless failure, and when you came back, you acted so high and mighty like you're some kind of preacher. You aren't the Deku I know. So what really happened when you were gone, and what have you been hiding from me? He raises his voice, now getting in front of Izuku's face as Izuku does not falter to Bakugo's anger. Izuku, I'm hiding nothing, Bakugo, and I'm not obligated to tell you everything. I choose who to tell and who not to tell. So I advise you to walk away before I do something I'll regret. And I'm not bluffing. You can't hurt me anymore, Bakugo. Those days are gone and will never come back. So do me a favor and leave. He steps forward, matching Bakugo's intensity. It was a standoff until Bakugo stepped back, letting out a huff. Bakugo, he. No words were said from both sides as Bakugo takes his leave. Not even giving a glare to Izuku, Izuku watches his bully leave but ultimately decides to let out a one-word comment. Izuku walked along the path, focused on his thoughts, when he was suddenly surprised by the appearance of All Might in his buff form from the pathway to his left. All Might, I am here. Izuku responded with a deadpan expression. Izuku, what do you want? It's late and my mom is going to pick me up. Can we make this quick? All Might flinched at Izuku's tone, realizing that he might still be upset about their previous conversation. He hoped that what he said next would change Izuku's mind. As All Might transformed back to his small Might form, he coughed, trying to gather himself before explaining why he was there. All Might, I came here after your display with the sludge villain. I was surprised that your suit had the means to subdue it. But I was even more impressed by how you rallied the people around you. That takes heart. Izuku, someone needs to be the voice for the Quirkless. They needed encouragement. What you saw was an example of that and the results it can bring. Giving people hope where you failed to do so with me. But I understand your perspective. For the first time, Izuku felt reluctant to engage with All Might. Most people would be honored to speak with him, but things felt different now. All Might, indeed. I saw many traits of a hero in your actions, the willingness to rush into danger despite the risks to your life, and the ability to inspire the hearts of the people with your words. I was wrong about you on that rooftop. You, young man, can be a hero. Izuku raised an eyebrow, unsure of why All Might had changed his mind so quickly. It felt rushed to him, as if one act had convinced All Might of his potential. Did he really prove him wrong, or was there something else at play? All Might, you know, when I came to Japan, I had many reasons for being here. But the truth is I came looking for a successor. What I saw in you makes me believe you have what it takes to inherit my quirk. Izuku. He was taken aback. A quirk that could be inherited. He had never heard of such a thing. Izuku, you want me to inherit your quirk. But, All Might, as I said, you showed real courage out there. You faced danger head-on, and it reminded me of myself. After a moment, Izuku laughed at the absurdity of it all. Why did All Might want him to inherit his quirk when his main goal was to be a quirkless hero? Did All Might forget what he had just said? Or was this an attempt to change Izuku's mind about quirks? Was it really just about powers and not about the responsibility of being a hero? Izuku, is that it? If you heard what I said earlier, All Might, I'm going to be a quirkless hero whether everyone likes it or not. I don't want any quirk transfer. If I accept a quirk, everything I said would be a lie, and I would betray my friends. I made a promise to them, and I'm not one to break promises. All Might was surprised. He hadn't expected Izuku to reject his offer so easily. He realized he had made a mistake. As All Might opened his mouth to explain, Izuku walked past him, not caring about his presence. Izuku, forget your offer, All Might. Give it to someone who deserves it. No, I take that back. Give it to someone who believes in quirks. We don't need your help. We'll find our own ways to achieve our dreams, and I'll continue to prove you wrong. You're no longer my hero, All Might, and there's nothing you can do to change that. He says with a sad look on his face, along with a disappointed expression, that his hero didn't turn out to be what he wanted him to be. After all, there is a saying, never meet your heroes. Izuku said nothing else, his Cybertronian mech forming into his body and jumping into the air, transforming into a Cybertronian jet. The jet, metallic silver and gray with a few purple parts, had an angular and spiky appearance, equipped with advanced technology. All Might could only watch, astonished as Izuku transformed into a jet. He didn't understand how it was possible and watched Izuku soar through the skies, out of sight. A sigh escaped his lips. To All Might, Izuku seemed like a worthy successor, but ultimately, it was Izuku's choice. Perhaps he should consider Nitai's offer of apprenticeship and see where that leads. In the skies, Izuku had much to contemplate, from the incident with the sludge villain to his encounters with All Might. He shook off the thought of All Might offering his quirk. He didn't need it. He had the tools necessary to become a hero and didn't require a quirk to do so. Today, Izuku would no longer listen to the pro-heroes telling him how to live his life and what he could or could not become. The time for that had ended, and it was Izuku's own choices that would guide him on the path he so desperately sought, bringing his newfound friends to his side as they faced this challenge together. In the Midoriya estate, Izuku found himself in his underground lab. Surrounded by over a dozen computer screens showcasing schematics, blueprints of various projects, and tabs for the Quirkless forum, he listened to a file that 𝐒𝐮𝐦𝐦𝐚𝐫𝐲 had jokingly sent him, a log belonging to Melissa. Izuku recalled that Melissa had recorded numerous logs to document her project's progress. He pressed play, and a tab popped up, showing live footage of Melissa talking to the camera. "Shockwave's log," she said. Izuku raised an eyebrow when he heard Melissa refer to herself as Shockwave. It seemed she had taken the Cybertronian's name since it was similar to her username, and given that she was a scientist, it made sense. At least Melissa hadn't turned emotionless. Inspired by the creation of the Cybertronian mechs, I have decided to create a few upgrades for my personal arsenal, she continued, showcasing a weapon on the table. It was a large cannon that could connect to her left arm, featuring power coils leading into a rectangular barrel. When finished, this gun could generate power to rival. Izuku scoffed at her comment. "Oh please. We'll see about that, Mel." Just then, he noticed another screen showing that Melissa wanted to video call him. He accepted, and she appeared, seemingly on a private jet. "Courtesy of S7. I'm making my way to Japan right now, and we also have a cargo plane bringing in the mechs. I didn't know how many to bring, so I decided to bring almost all that we have made. The brass approved it since they know about our plan." "Well, that's a start. All we need is to find more candidates to finish the roster," Izuku replied. "I believe that will be easy, Izu," she said, showcasing a screen to him that displayed social media posts and comments related to his speech during the sludge villain incident. "It seems you've made the headlines, Izu. The reception is a mixed bag, both good and bad. The good news is that you've garnered a lot of support from the Quirkless. I had the guys discreetly market the forum, saying that you were the one who created it. You've gained a lot of followers, let me tell you. And if you're worried about them telling on you, they won't. Ever since discrimination against the Quirkless has increased, we stick together no matter what." Izuku, and the bad news. Melissa Shockwave, pros are calling for your arrest and changes to be implemented on the law regarding vigilante acts by the Quirkless. So doing that stunt again is ill-advised. As for the HPSC, nothing from them for now, but knowing what Simmons and your father told us, they are probably up to something. So stay on your toes. He nods to what Melissa said, but had another thought on his mind right now. Izuku, also, did you ever, Melissa Shockwave, if you're wondering if I contacted All Might after what he said to you and offered, I didn't, and I don't plan to. Izuku, really now? Why is that? Melissa Shockwave, because I'm upset. If what you said is true, I will have my father confirm it later on. All Might was someone I considered family, he could have offered me this, but seeing my position, I think he changed his mind. It makes me wonder if I would have been his choice if he couldn't find a successor. He knows my dreams of becoming a hero and yet didn't choose me. He'll probably say it's for my safety, yet I'm risking everything for this very moment. What can he counter with that? So illogical. Izuku, he probably did so to keep you safe. I don't know much about that quirk transfer or whatever it's called. But I take it you're also upset about him saying I can't be a hero and then retracting his statement afterward. Melissa Shockwave, compared to the whole quirk transfer situation, I'm upset about what All Might said to you. If he said that to you, what more to me? I know he will say I can be a hero, but his statements contradict what he said as he gave me hope but didn't give hope to others. I see it more as him lying to me for the sake of making me happy. I can't accept that. You're my friend, Izuku, and the fact he said that to you made me furious. Izuku, and do you believe we have the means to prove All Might wrong? That we Quirkless can truly be heroes? Melissa Shockwave, I do not believe, Izuku. I hypothesize. And our hypothesis has reached its conclusion given you proved All Might wrong. It's hero society we must focus on. People will be swayed by the words of the number one hero, but there are those who won't. Izuku, you are correct, Melissa, and we have the recruits ready. Melissa Shockwave, yes. You showed me the list of potential candidates that will join us in the entrance exam. On cue, a tab on both their screens popped up, showcasing a list of names, and there were a lot. Izuku, I know this is an invasion of privacy. But S7 has done this far too many times and don't really have any form of consequences. After all, it is for national security. Melissa Shockwave, whereas for us, not so much. Izuku, yup. But it did give us an idea of how old all of our friends are in the forum. The majority are of our age, with a few in their early to mid-20s. There are a few older folks here and there. Makes sense since none of us really had anyone to talk to. Melissa Shockwave, tell me about it. Shall we schedule a meeting with our friends? Gather them all together in one spot to inform them of what we have planned. Izuku, please do. And make sure the Cybertronian mechs are set. Wouldn't want to embarrass ourselves in front of our crew. This was met with Melissa letting out a laugh at the thought of them, or specifically her, screwing up their presentation. Melissa Shockwave, oh please. Everything is set and ready to go, Izu. I made sure of it. The only problem we have is finding a place we can call a base. Your home is far too obvious as a base if those from the HPSC do some investigating. So it's best we find a temporary one in the meantime. She says as Melissa was met with Izuku smiling. He knows the perfect place they can call a base. Months and we are now in Takoba Municipal Beach Park, located on the coastline. Rampant pollution had turned what once was an appealing public spot into a junkyard. Despite that, the beach park appears to have a pier with a small gazebo where people can hang out. And this is the place where Izuku and Melissa call their temporary base. During the first 2 months since Melissa arrived in Japan, the two used their connections and started building the base in the middle of the beach park. How they did so was to make sure the base didn't look like a base at all. Melissa's idea was to use parts of a plane and have it built around the junkyard. She said people would chalk it up as a company disposing of the parts there, and to Izuku's surprise, it worked perfectly. Once they had the layout set, the two got to work in setting up the equipment. It was mostly a command center and a bay area for their Cybertronian mechs, along with a gathering area for when the rest of their friends arrive, as well as a means for them to test out their suits, mostly near the more trashy areas in the beach. Izuku borrowed some form of illusion tech from S7 to have the bystanders around the beach park not notice the sounds of explosions and blaster fire. Izuku, I'm quite surprised that nobody cared about the equipment being loaded up here in box trucks. You would think it's suspicious. Melissa Shockwave. I calculate it's them believing it is civilians dumping more garbage onto the beach. It works in our favor. Izuku. Indeed it does, and the construction of the base wasn't even a second thought to anyone passing by. Shows no one really bats an eye unless they're dumping garbage. Melissa nods to what Izuku says, holding her datapad in hand as she double-checks the systems to make sure they are good to go. Izuku notices Melissa received a text message and goes to reply to it. Izuku, we have another DLVY headed our way. He speculates that Melissa is getting another DLVRY of equipment to the beach park, as that's usually what they have been receiving the past couple of days. Melissa Shockwave, you could say that. But it's a DLVRY in relation to some equipment I found on a website. Don't worry, the guy isn't sketchy. He's actually part of our group chat in the Quirkless forum. I'm certain you'll be interested to meet him. Izuku, is that so? And who is he? That would be me, my friend. A voice calls out as the two turn and are met with a young man around the same age as them, who keeps his dark blonde hair slicked back. Streaks of gold catch the light just enough to look expensive, and from what Izuku can tell, the boy's green eyes gleam with charm. The boy's smile suggests he is someone to keep an eye on. Izuku, judging by the amount of duffel bags you have, I take it you are the contact Mel is talking about. 𝐒𝐮𝐦𝐦𝐚𝐫𝐲. Why yes. The name's 𝐒𝐮𝐦𝐦𝐚𝐫𝐲, or what you know me as, Swindle Knows Windling, but you can call me Swindle. He drops the duffel bags to the ground and reaches his hand out to Izuku for a handshake. Izuku stares at 𝐒𝐮𝐦𝐽 Swindle for a couple of seconds before accepting it. Izuku, likewise. I take it you know who I am. 𝐒𝐮𝐽 Swindle, of course. You made a name for yourself after that heroic stunt with the sludge villain. The Quirkists not so much, but the Quirkless are all over you. But I'm happy to say, I can see you as a high-paying customer for my services. Izuku, is that so? 𝐒𝐮𝐽 Swindle. Did you really think you're the only one here who has access to tech that even the governments don't have access to? This makes Izuku look at 𝐒𝐮𝐽 Swindle with curiosity as he turns towards Melissa for answers. Melissa Shockwave, Swindle's family are contacts of S7 during their early days and still are, mostly serving as the cleaning crew. As you can see, they were able to keep some of the tech in their possession. But Swindle is good at salvaging or buying tech in the black market. It came in handy here, since despite the advanced equipment we have, it won't do well in this type of setting. So I looked up some other equipment online that can work well without damaging S7's tech. Again, we don't want to make this place too advanced. Might draw attention, and we don't want that right now. Izuku, makes sense. Also, were there any problems heading over here, Swindle? 𝐒𝐮𝐽 Swindle, nope. I know my way around here without getting seen or avoiding the attention of those Quirkists. However, I still want to get rid of this armband. It feels like I'm being labeled. He points to the armband on his left arm, which has writings that say, Quirkless. Izuku, yes. The segregation of the Quirkless. He clenches his fists in frustration. Ever since what happened back in the sludge villain incident and his speech that garnered the attention and support of his people, the Hero Public Safety Commission enacted laws to prevent the rise of vigilantism among the Quirkless. Their solution was to have every single Quirkless individual in Japan, including foreigners, wear armbands to indicate their Quirklessness, allowing authorities to monitor them. This has led to increased discrimination, with many Quirkless individuals facing hostility in public, and the authorities have done nothing to intervene. Jack and Simmons told Izuku this is the HPSC's way of quelling the amount of liabilities present in hero society, ensuring only those with power remain while the weak are sidelined. The HPSC refuses to allow the Quirkless to be seen as equals in hero society. And this mistake furthers the anger of the Quirkless. Melissa Shockwave. This gives us all the more reason to push our goals of becoming heroes and fighting the system even further. Considering the choices they gave us, I'm certain the other countries won't allow such an act. It seems Japan is heading back to its old ways. 𝐒𝐮𝐽 Swindle, which we are all certain the HPSC wouldn't mind returning to, given the power they wish to hold. Izuku, and the number of people they are harming to keep this corrupt society as clean as ever. The two nod in agreement with Izuku, who is thinking of ways to have the HPSC and the authorities off their backs. He turns his attention to 𝐒𝐮𝐦𝐦𝐚𝐫𝐲. Izuku, Swindle, mind giving me a list of all your products in store? For some reason, the sound of money, cha-ching, echoes in Shigoto's mind. His intuition is right. Izuku will no doubt be a high-paying customer. 𝐒𝐮𝐦𝐦𝐚𝐫𝐲 wastes no time and brings out his laptop, which Izuku notices has a few devices attached to it, giving him an idea of what he might acquire as 𝐒𝐮𝐦𝐴𝐶 hands his laptop to Izuku. 𝐒𝐮𝐦𝐴𝐶, whatever you want, I have it. Radios, jamming devices, spare parts, computers, phones, and more. Just say the word, and I can provide. With a hefty cost depending on what you want. He says with a smile and in a tone of a businessman, watching Izuku browse through his selection of items. To Izuku, the options are impressive. He sees a means to get the equipment he needs. Izuku, I believe we're doing business here, Swindle. He says as 𝐒𝐮𝐦𝐴𝐶 responds with a smirk. Months in back at Takoba Beach Park, a place that usually doesn't have many people, is now packed. Small groups of civilians are slowly heading inside the junkyard, navigating through different sections to avoid being followed. In one section of the junkyard, a couple of individuals are seen making their way inside, carefully navigating a pathway that acts like a maze. After a few minutes of walking, the crew is met with the gatekeeper. The gatekeepers are tasked with keeping an eye out for any individuals who stumble upon an entrance in the junkyard. To distinguish themselves, they are required to say a code phrase. Construct icons. The gatekeeper says, and those who are supposed to be considered friends must respond with the countersign. Devastator. The gatekeeper nods and lets the group in. Once the doors open, the crew enters, greeted by the base that Izuku, Melissa, and 𝐒𝐮𝐴𝐶 constructed. The place is filled with Quirkless individuals, all wearing black-yellow armbands. This is the moment where Izuku contacted selected members in the forum, mainly those in the group chat, as they will soon present their plan for the entrance exam along with the reveal of the Cybertronian mechs. Chatter fills the base as many in the forum are meeting each other for the first time. Izuku is located at the main console area with Melissa, where they are chatting with Kido Barricade, who is explaining the difficult situation for the Quirkless in the police force. Izuku, so even the police force is affected? Kido Barricade, yes. The HPSC has managed to control society as a whole. They convinced all the districts in Japan to demote and transfer every single policeman and woman into desk work. They don't trust us Quirkless policemen to patrol the streets, fearing we may ignore the actions of the Quirkless. The same goes for firefighters, doctors, and nurses. They believe firefighters will cover up the actions of Quirkless trying to be heroes. For the medical field, they worry doctors and nurses will treat the Quirkless and cover up evidence. They're doing the same in the military. It's frustrating, I tell you. Frustrating. He expresses his anger at the actions of the HPSC, which seems willing to overlook the crimes against the Quirkless. All of Kido's hard work feels wasted in an instant. Melissa Shockwave. It's worse when we hacked into the HPSC's files and saw they planned to build a containment zone for the Quirkless. In short, it's a designated area for all Quirkless individuals in mainland Japan to live in. They plan to confine us to one area to prevent what they call a disease from spreading in Japan. Kido Barricade, are you serious? This is like history repeating itself. Melissa Shockwave, do I look like I'm joking? She looks at Kido Barricade as he grits his teeth in anger and clenches his fists, seeing the blatant segregation. He knows full well the HPSC will make sure this information doesn't get outside of Japan, or else there will be problems. As for Izuku, he can only stare at the screen, which showcases the plans of the HPSC, his eyes filled with determination. He sees that the HPSC stated in their report that they will build a wall to ensure no Quirkless individuals can escape this containment zone and will have heroes on their payroll to keep an eye on them. It's even worse where the HPSC is having its agents separate families of Quirkless individuals who marry those with quirks, destroying lives all for the sake of keeping the peace. Kido Barricade, Midoriya, tell me you have a plan regarding this. Because this needs to be known. Izuku, we do have a plan. But it will take time. We have sort of the outline planned out. The problem is we need people who are willing to join us. 𝐒𝐮𝐦𝐦𝐚𝐫𝐲 barricade, you mean your plan regarding you? Are you sure this is going to work? Melissa Shockwave, we are 80% certain it will work. 𝐒𝐮𝐦𝐦𝐚𝐫𝐲 barricade, and the 20% is subject to failure, right? Melissa Shockwave, yes. We still need to gather candidates to join our crew and have to pass the exam. 𝐒𝐮𝐦𝐦𝐚𝐫𝐲 barricade, well, then let's hope this goes in our favor. Izuku, let's hope so. The three walked over to the middle, where 𝐒𝐮𝐦𝐦𝐚𝐫𝐲 built a platform that houses a podium for Izuku to stand on. When Izuku made his appearance, everyone there stopped talking, focusing their attention on him. Izuku saw that everyone had settled down. He cleared his throat before starting his speech. Izuku, as you all know, I am Megatronus in the Quirkless forum. But for those who don't, my name is Izuku Midoriya, and I made headlines because of my actions during the sludge villain incident, and we know well it came with consequences. To be quite frank, I saw this as a long time coming. If it wasn't me, another Quirkless vigilante would have made headlines, and the same issues would have been brought down upon us. He said, as many in the crowd agreed with what Izuku said. Izuku, and despite that, I won't falter. I will still head to you and take the entrance exam whether they like it or not. Not only that, besides Melissa, who you all know as 𝐒𝐮𝐦𝐴 Shockwave, some of you will join us in taking the exam. When he said that, this was met with murmurs and whispers from the crowd. Goro Thundercracker then raised his hand to ask Izuku a question. Goro Thundercracker, is this what you meant when you told me you had a surprise for us? Izuku, yes. What I wear is your ticket into joining you. We call it Cybertronian 𝐒𝐻𝐻. I won't explain the details on the material and power source we used to make such a masterpiece. But the majority of the 𝐒𝐻𝐻s we made were all built in 𝐒𝐻𝐻. This was met with shocked expressions from those who knew of 𝐒𝐻𝐻, many wondering what kind of connections Izuku and Melissa have when they had 𝐒𝐻𝐻 build those 𝐒𝐻𝐻s. Melissa Shockwave, and we are here to showcase the capabilities when you yourselves will wield such a weapon in due time. In doing so, we have a volunteer that will show that it is completely safe. Sora Skywarp, how are you certain these things are safe? Melissa Shockwave, I and Izuku are the ones who developed the Cybertronian 𝐒𝐻𝐻s from scratch. I am familiar with its intricacies, she said with confidence that reassured Sora Skywarp. Izuku, anywho, getting back to the reveal. Ladies and gentlemen of all ages, I present to you the Cybertronian 𝐒𝐻𝐻, he said, turning off the illusion technology that was hiding the Cybertronian 𝐒𝐻𝐻 at the front as it unveiled itself. The 𝐒𝐻 in question is a tall, impressive figure, the armor a sleek, glossy black, accented with sharp streaks of metallic purple that run across its shoulders, chest, and legs. Silver and steel gray plating reinforce its chest and collar, with two fang-like arcs curving outward, making it appear as though its body is armored with jagged teeth. Its head is angular and helmet-like, with pointed extensions jutting up like dark horns, illuminated by a pair of glowing eyes. Its arms are broad and mechanical, layered in jagged armor. The wheels rest along its shoulders and forearms, while its clawed metallic fingers extend like talons. Its legs, covered in thick plating, taper into blade-like edges along its shins, while its feet are designed like sharpened anchors. When Izuku unveiled the Cybertronian 𝐒𝐻𝐻, everyone there was in awe. They had never seen anything like it, and some even said that pro heroes who wore full-body armored suits couldn't compare to this. Many in the crowd wondered how these 𝐒𝐻𝐻s were made, what materials were used to create such a machine, if these 𝐒𝐻𝐻s could stand equally against Quirks, and if they could pilot one right away. The level of excitement was high, especially since a few had witnessed the power Izuku displayed against the sludge villain. Izuku, for your information, the one piloting the 𝐒𝐻 is 𝐒𝐮𝐻𝐻, known online as Barricading 𝐒𝐻𝐻. But while wearing this armor, let's refer to him as Barricade. I take it this new name is a sort of code name. Someone in the crowd asked Izuku. He was known in the forum as 𝐒𝐮𝐽𝐻𝐻, a young boy with rigid dark brown hair that looked slicked and pressed into place, and steel gray eyes that were cold and narrow. His real name was 𝐒𝐻𝐻𝐻𝐻. Izuku, yes. Call it our hero names. But enough of that. Let's get back to our explanation regarding the Cybertronian 𝐒𝐻𝐻s. The heights of the 𝐒𝐻𝐻s range from 13 to 20 feet. They are sleek and quick in their movements. The material used can withstand several quirks before being taken down. So yes, this mech is very durable, he said as he knocked on Kido's barricade foot, producing a loud clanging sound. Izuku, as for its weapons, I won't disclose the type of energy sources we used for this, as you don't have clearance just yet. But let me tell you, these mechs pack a punch. Barricade, please showcase the power of your weapons. Kido Barricade nodded, turning toward a wrecked car. As he moved, the sound of metal shifting was heard. Kido Barricade equipped his plasma cannon and took aim at the wrecked car, his HUD targeting the vehicle. Once it was set, he fired. An explosion erupted, destroying the wrecked car into pieces with one shot, shocking the crowd at how powerful the weapons truly were. Kido Barricade, oh, and take note. This was at its lowest setting. That information shocked the crowd even more. The shot that caused that huge blast was at its lowest setting. Are you serious? If so, that is some firepower. I can't wait to try it out myself. A young boy shouted out. He was a Brawlin family, with jagged spikes of hair tipped with red, almost like flames frozen in mid-motion, and sharp brown eyes. His real name was Ranto Tonku. Tell me about it. I can't wait to take down some villains and prove those Quirkists wrong. Another young boy replied to Ranto Brawl. His username was CrusherOffBones, with a rough, unkempt mane of brown hair that spilled over his forehead and shoulders, and dark red eyes. His real name was Banku Rasha. Easy there. Don't get your hopes up. We don't want to rush things, right, Izuku? A man said, calming the two down. He was a bit older than the rest, around his early 20s. His username was a Blackout, and he had thick dreadlocks falling heavily across his shoulders, casting shadows over his storm gray eyes. His real name was Tiden Hariko. Izuku, yes. And there is another point I wanted to mention regarding a certain ability the mechs have. Tiden Blackout. Oh. And what is that? Izuku didn't say anything and gestured for Kido Barricade to give them a surprise they'd never forget, doing so with a huge smirk on his face. Everyone watched as Kido Barricade got into a stance and lunged forward toward the ground. Everyone's eyes widened as they watched Kido Barricade transform into a literal police car. Sora Skywarp. Did he just change into a police car? How is that possible? It doesn't make any sense. Izuku, trust me, it took us a lot of trial and error to get this right. To give you an idea of how this works, when you transform, a force field is placed around you as you are brought to the cockpit, and where Kido Barricade is in the back seat. So don't worry, you won't get crushed. He finished his explanation, and some in the crowd were still unsure about it. Izuku, now then, to explain what we have planned regarding you, and how we plan to do it. We need 18 volunteers to join us in taking the exam. We'll add in 2 more just in case the others don't pass. The problem is, we have a mix of ages here, some older, which means they aren't obvious choices, while others are of the same age group as me, which can work. But we will need to choose volunteers who are willing to take on this challenge. Remember, once word of this gets out, the HPSC will target us, and in a sense, target you. Melissa Shockwave, you need not worry about them coming into your homes and forcing you out to the containment zone once preparations are complete. But we do have a plan to bring all the Quirkless of Japan to a safe place. Like with the HPSC, we are still negotiating this deal. This was met with murmurs and whispers from the crowd. Melissa Shockwave, for those who were excited to get their hands on a Cybertronian mech, don't worry, we have more in store, but we wish to limit its usage until we have the authorization to make an army. Again, Izuku and I have contacts across the globe that can give us the means to do it. Izuku, and with this knowledge, spread it throughout all of Japan. We want everyone to hear about this and prepare for what's to come. This society will stop at nothing to hinder us from becoming heroes, and it's time we start fighting back. You hear me? Their response was to shout out and cheer for Izuku, with his biggest fan showing his praise and loyalty to him. He is a man in his early 20s, quite muscular with a shaven head and gray eyes. He is known in the forum as Lugnuts, but his real name is Natsu Ragunato. Natsu Lugnut, O great and wise Izuku Midoriya. We are not worthy of your words and presence. We shall show these Quirkists what we're truly made of. Onslaught, Oh great. A glazer. He said this in a sarcastic manner, knowing some would be annoyed with Natsu Lugnut. Banka blackout. Wait, won't the HPSC be suspicious of the mass gathering of Quirkless? I mean, don't they have access to the network and see what kind of messages are being sent around Japan? Izuku, don't worry about that. With the help of Swindle, we'll each give you phones outfitted with jamming devices to block out any means of tracing. Our communication line will fall on one singular network. That way, no one can trace us or find any links to our groups. We're essentially blind in their eyes. Banka Bone Crusher, and how do you even have your own network? Let me guess, you have a satellite. Izuku said nothing and simply smiled at Banka Bone Crusher, whose eyes widened when he saw the expression. Banka Bone Crusher, wait, I was joking. You have a satellite. He was ignored as Melissa Shockwave took the floor. Melissa Shockwave, all right, this will take a while. But all those who are willing to join us in taking the exam at 𝐒𝐮𝐦𝐸𝐵, step forward and we'll sort things out. The rest of you, Kido here will give out the phones. Everyone in the base crowded around Melissa and Kido Barricade, who was now out of the mech, with Melissa Shockwave writing down who was eligible to join the entrance exam while Kido Barricade distributed the phones, with Shirgoto Swindle now deciding to help. In the background, Izuku watched with a smile, seeing everything coming together. But he was interrupted when he received a radio call from one of the boys posted outside the base. Boss, we have a situation. Izuku, what is it, Roku? Roku, I got someone outside the base. A couple of clicks by the entrance of the beach. She's harmless, but are you interested in checking this out? I eavesdropped on her conversation and it involves you. It may be something of interest. Izuku, all right then, I'll check it out. Send me your location. He looked over at his phone and saw the message had been sent. Roku was close by. Izuku glanced at Melissa, seeing she was far too busy with this matter, so he took his leave for the moment. He would message back if they came looking for him. Time skipped near the street area of the beach park. Izuku made his way to the location and was met with Roku, whose real name was Roku Shato. Roku was known as 666 Shooter in the forum. He was described as a young boy with layered dark hair cut unevenly, jagged at the ends like a blade, and had silver eyes. Roku looked to his right to see Izuku approaching him as Izuku asked Roku a question. Izuku, where are they? Roku said nothing and pointed over to a girl sitting by one of the hoods of the wrecked cars. The girl in question had layered light pink hair that reached down to her shoulders, her straight bangs parted to the left, tucked behind her ear, and left to fall over her eye on the right. She had round gray eyes that sloped slightly downwards towards the sides of her face, framed by long eyelashes and noticeable dark eye makeup, with her light pupils appearing to be shaped like small stars or clouds. She has round, gray eyes that slope slightly downwards towards the sides of her face, framed by long eyelashes and noticeable eye makeup, their light pupils appearing to be shaped like small stars or clouds. Izuku looks to Roku, and the two give each other a nod as they slowly approach the girl. When they get close, Izuku notices that the girl is crying, and her face looks broken, like the same look he's seen on his friends when they feel alone. Izuku wonders what happened to her. The girl then notices the two approaching and quickly wipes the tears from her eyes before fixing herself. Izuku, you okay, Mississippi? Do you need help? Oh, sorry. Don't mind me. To tell you the truth, I broke down on the way here, so please don't ask about how I look. It's nothing. Roku, did your car break down? If it did, I can help fix it. I know a thing or two about cars. My car. Roku's question is met with Izuku elbowing him gently in the side, giving him a look. To read the room better. Roku rubs the back of his neck in embarrassment as Izuku approaches the girl and sits beside her on the hood of the car. Izuku, don't worry about him. Just ignore what he said. But are you comfortable telling us what happened? You don't have to if you don't want to, but sometimes talking about it can help. He notices the girl is uncertain. Why should she tell her story to strangers? But as the girl looks at Izuku closely, she recognizes him. Wait, aren't you Izuku Midoriya? Izuku, so you've heard about me? Yes. You're popular on social media, both good and bad. And judging by the armbands, did you Face any discrimination because of your heroic actions. Izuku, yes. I learned to stay in the shadows. Trust me, some people will stop at nothing to remind me of my place. But enough about me. Care to tell me your story? The girl flinches at the tone Izuku takes. She understands his frustrations, given how challenging things can be for those without quirks. But seeing that Izuku seems harmless, she thinks Roku is there acting as his protector. She ultimately decides to share her experience. I was expelled from you on my first day. This catches the attention of both Izuku and Roku, who become very interested. Izuku, expelled. Roku, and on the first day. How did that happen? The girl lets out a sigh, clearly tired. It was because of our teacher. He made us do a quirk assessment test on the first day to evaluate our abilities. By the end of it, he expelled us, all of us. No hesitation, no regret. Izuku, and he was allowed to do that. What was his reason? All I know is he didn't see potential in us. He said it was illogical to think this was fun when we should be taking it seriously. Newsflash, we were only in our first year, and it was literally the first day. He even said we needed to have a handle on our quirks already, but we came to you to learn how to use our quirks properly. The test didn't favor some quirks that don't give you an advantage. It worked well for those with powerful quirks. It felt like he wanted to prove a point or something. Who knows? He just got rid of us because he thought we weren't ready. He gave up on us on the first day. What was the point of that? He dismissed us without a second thought just because he thought we weren't taking it seriously. We were. And because of it, we lost everything. She breaks down again, and seeing her state, Izuku decides to comfort her with a hug. It feels strange, considering he just met her, but he wants to offer support. He glances at Roku, who gives a knowing nod. They need to research the situation and understand what to watch out for when they head to you. Something isn't right, and it could hinder their progress. Izuku, so I take it the consequences were severe. He looks to the girl as she moves back a bit from Izuku and wipes the tears from her eyes once again. Yes. That man doesn't understand that by expelling us, the black marks will stay with us forever, especially coming from a prestigious school. Doing so won't allow us to enter any other school, and if we were able to, it would drain us of all our money. Many of my classmates got kicked out and disowned because of their failure, and the same is true for me. My former family said they spent so much to get me to you, and now it's all gone. Their hard work, in short, the money they saved to get me a spot, all wasted. I even heard from my classmates that this man did it to many other students like us. They got kicked out of their families, now living on the streets, unable to find jobs, and some even turned to villainy. This man claims he's doing it for our own good, that the way we are acting, how we aren't treating this so-called hero business seriously, will get us hurt. Then what do you call this? He says he knows what's best for us, yet so many of his expelled students have faced terrible consequences. He is leading us to our own downfall, and he calls himself a hero. Unbelievable. Finishing her rant, Izuku and Roku are surprised by what they have learned. Izuku has one thought in mind. Izuku, why would a teacher at you expel students with quirks on the first day? It doesn't make sense. I can understand getting rid of people like us, but why those with quirks? He needs to ask Melissa to look into this, to see if they can use this to their advantage or know what to avoid once they make preparations for you. Roku, boss, what do you want to do with her? He whispers to Izuku, not minding that the girl can hear them as she is too preoccupied at the moment. Roku looks to Izuku as he turns to him, then back at the girl. Again, Izuku is shown another perspective of hero society. He knows about the discrimination against mutant quirks, how people label others' quirks as villainous simply because of how they work. Now, he has found out that a teacher is expelling students on the first day because they didn't take it seriously or didn't have control over their quirks, when in reality, they came to you to learn. Worst of all, these students are in their first year. This man expelled them under the guise of protecting them, when in actuality, he seems to not care about the consequences. Izuku clenches his fists. There are so many things wrong with this society, and he plans to change it, no matter the cost. And maybe he plans to bring a couple of people with quirks to his side, starting with this girl. Izuku, excuse me, may I ask your name? Fua. Moada Fua. Izuku, well, Fua. How about you and your class join us in our pursuit of challenging hero society as a whole? He says with a smile as Fua looks at Izuku with an eyebrow raised while Roku knows this will be an interesting development. Months later, Jack. So, Izuku, how's the progress going with your team? Now, Izuku is no longer in Japan but back in Island. He is in an office, working at his desk, where his workload is immense due to the number of papers he needs to sign to solidify their plans for the future and get approval for various sources and contractors affiliated with Island along with others Sector 7 has at their disposal. Izuku, team, dad. Really? Check what? I mean, don't you see how many you brought to Island? Looks like a team to me. Izuku sighs. He knows his father is right. He has a team, and he won't deny it. Izuku drinks his energy drink, which he poured into a glass to keep himself awake, and stands up from his desk, walking over to the window that gives a view of a new facility built in Island. The facility is a large training center where all of Izuku's friends can train and learn how to use their Cybertronian mechs. Each part of the facility caters to the type of Cybertronian mech being used, such as a gun range, a racetrack, a flying range where they have the jets fly through rings to see how well they do in the air, and arenas to test their skills in combat. There is also a repair bay to ensure the mechs are intact and fully operational. Jack approaches Izuku and comments on their new additions. Jack, you know, son, and the others agree with me. I'm surprised you took in those former students under your wing. Quite frankly, they seem to fit in with your group. He points out the expelled students of who are also being trained in the facility, and in the middle of it all is Fua, now donning her Cybertronian mech. Her mech is a striking robotic warrior, its armor a deep cobalt blue with metallic gray and crimson.